Good morning and welcome back to another episode of Around the Indoor Football World, where, as always, we talk about all the major indoor football leagues, whether that's the IFL, the NAL, the AF1, the AAL, and the TAL, and we'll have a little bit to talk about from all of those. We also have a couple guests this morning that we're very excited to be joined by. Wide receiver Matt Freese Jr. from the 2026 NAL Championship, winning Southwest Kansas Storm, will be joining us any moment. And then we also have the owner of the new Athens football team that will be, or one of the ownership group that will be joining us later on, Mike Salmon. So we're very excited to have both of those gentlemen on. But before we get into that, how are you guys doing this morning? Cody, how are you doing this morning, man?
I'm doing fantastic.
Awesome. Krish, how are you doing?
Doing well, excited for a good show this morning.
EJ, how you doing?
I'm doing good. Happy 4th of July to everyone out there.
All right. So just so everybody's aware, we're obviously starting off a little bit late, so we're going to go ahead and get our first guest on right away. So we're going to go ahead and start with the NAL section. And as mentioned before, Matt Freese Jr. will be joining us, wide receiver. He played some defensive back in 2025 for Southwest Kansas as well. So a very versatile player. And without further ado, Mr. Freese, thank you for joining us this morning. How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, fellas. I'm good. I appreciate you guys for having me. How are y'all?
Doing great. And of course, it's the pleasure is all of ours. I mean, obviously, you got some big information to talk about as of recently because you guys just won the championship. So let's just go ahead and ask that. I mean, obviously, you're a local guy. You're from Dodge City. Obviously, you're playing in front of a lot of people you knew previously and stuff like that. Cody and I got the chance to be at the game for the championship, and you could literally see the energy that you brought into that game. I mean, before the initial kickoff, you were, very amped up. You could kind of tell, and it seemed like this game kind of meant more to you. So I wanted to kind of give you the floor to talk about like your experience in the championship game and the playoff games leading up into that.
That game was definitely very exciting. Just pulling Salina in itself, just the rivalry we've had, be going from the AFL to the AF1 last year, and now both of us switching over to the NAL in this past season. It was just a carryover, especially they knocked us off last year for us to go there for playoffs or for us to go to Nashville for playoffs instead of being at home. So taking that 18-hour bus trip to Nashville last year was not ideal. So being able to play these guys again this year, especially in a championship game, was really what set the tone for that. It really kicked off pregame, just some out of the ordinary things kind of happened, and I won't get too much into it. Just not a respect thing, and so, but we all show respect after the game. I love the Salina guys; they love us. It's all part of the game at the end of the day. So, just the crowd in itself. They talked about ticket sales all week. The owners were at practice all week talking about ticket sales, and just the amount of people you have in that arena is crazy. Like, there's not even that many people for a graduation. That's where we hold our high school graduation. So having that many people for a football game with the horns and cowbells, Salina brought people over with noise. It was just a great environment. So if you weren't excited in that environment, you're probably in the wrong sport in itself.
That's a great way to put that. And it was a great environment. I was very, very pleasantly surprised. And I thought that it was a great representation of what the NAL is all about. And in fact, Cody can kind of give us a little bit more insight on that. I mean, prior to this season, he wasn't a very in-depth NAL fan, and now I think he came away a lot bigger fan of the game and what the NAL presents as well. So, Cody, do you have any questions for Matt?
Yeah, I mean, probably the biggest one. It's a back and forth affair, close game, hotly contested. Like you said, pregame festivities were fun. When that final pass goes incomplete, what is going through your mind? Is it just elation? Is it just shock? Is it just, oh my God, we did it? Take us through your emotions on that final play.
That final play, I sat there. I was in the corner, actually. I didn't even watch the final play. I normally sit there next to D-Wash, and we'll watch the Jumbotron together, and we'll watch the game. I couldn't do it. I went to the corner. I sat there, and I was like, I knew Shaq and Kyle. I knew Coach Callahan. I played for Coach Callahan on defense last year. Scenarios like that, he's gonna tighten the pressure up. He's gonna either bring somebody, or we're just gonna have to lock up no matter what. Up front, we had, I think, Josiah Silver was in, Jair Stevens, and I think Jalen Pickle was at nose. Those three guys, I mean, great pass rushers from outside to the inside. Every day you watch those guys work, they're just different. You know what I mean? Just from the way they carry themselves as human beings to the way that they play, it's amazing. So knowing that those three were on the field together, that's really what you need. Is if you have to get a rush on the quarterback in this league. If you can't, then they sit there forever. Anything can happen. So I'm just thankful. We had great defense. Our guys did their jobs, and once I seen the ball get batted down by Kyle, I jumped over the fence or jumped over the wall, and I ran straight to the corner. So it was a great feeling. After it was a feeling of relief from all the hard work. We've been here since February and been working our butts off. So everything we worked for since February paid off.
That's a good point. TJ, do you have anything for Matt?
Hey, Matt, man, congratulations on winning the championship. I'm glad you mentioned it before because I've been lucky enough to be a part of a championship as well. And you mentioned the journey and the build up to get there. You know, how did it feel winning it and then getting that, the monkey off the back feeling of, just the disappointments of the last year or two?
The last year or two, that one, this year was different coming into the NAL. What set it off was that loss to Sioux City, and the week before playoffs, when we lost that game in Sioux City, had a chance to win it, and we just weren't successful. We still lost. That one put a hard taste in our mouth, and like Coach Thomas said, I think we really needed that loss to happen in order for us to win out, because if we would have never lost, we would have just kept kicking the can down the street. We would have never knew what flaws we had. We would have never knew what we could have fixed or what we could tune up. We're like a car. You have to take it to get fixed every once in a while. You can't just let it sit in the shop and not run. So you have to tune the small things. And we had a preacher or a pastor come in, a very wonderful man named Jeff Hires. He talked about nails in a can, a story from the war with Napoleon, and it talked about nails in a can. And he said the smallest thing can cause the biggest problems. So that was the main focus all week, was that small detail could create the biggest problem. And so being able to win this year, last year we had the chance in Nashville, lost by 5. Horrible taste in your mouth. And you drive so far, you're so close to winning, lose by 5, now you're done. And then they go to Albany, and then Albany, of course, we all know how Albany was last year, just an absolute fire team. Couldn't stop them. So just watching that and being able to win this year was a great feeling. It was a great feeling. I had a lot of hard work, had a lot of great guys along the way. Coach Thomas doesn't bring in a lot of guys and send a lot of guys out. What we bring in is what we want, and you really either you make the opportunity for yourself here or you have to go. He's not going to cut you. He's going to try to find every way possible for you to be successful on our team. So
I love the way you put that, because this season in particular, it seemed like there was very few transactions for the Storm. It seemed from the very beginning, other than a couple guys getting cut coming out of camp, which is an inevitability every year, there weren't really a lot of moves. However, mid-season, you guys lose your quarterback. From a wide receiver's perspective, you guys didn't have any depth on the roster. I know I had a conversation with Coach Thomas at one point. He wasn't really necessarily 100% set on what happened next, with Struck injured. So I'm curious from a wide receiver's perspective, when you come into practice, you hear Struck's hurt, and you don't really know who the guy is coming in. How do you go about approaching that situation when there's going to be, maybe a new quarterback coming in, or maybe you'll be playing quarterback, or, maybe it's another wide receiver, or, how did you guys all approach that situation?
that was a joke that he had. He said, Matt, you might have to play quarterback. And listen, I tried to throw a couple passes in high school. I'll be honest. my receivers hated me, so we're not gonna speak on that. I'm a Wildcat quarterback for a reason. But the next option was, you've seen what happened in Sioux City. Trey went down and 0 D washes, and they're playing quarterback. Everybody's like, well, there's no jump ball guy to throw the ball to. Your tallest guy's playing quarterback, so now what do you do? But Coach Thomas, like, when things like that happen, Struck goes down, and Coach Thomas is on the phone quick trying to find a guy. We had a guy, I believe, in by Wednesday. I think Trey was here by Tuesday or Wednesday of that Amarillo week. Had 3 days of prep, and we just you dumb down your football game. That's all you do. You take everything you've learned from camp till that point in the season, and you make it as simple as for a quarterback as you can. But a quarterback like Trey, you come from outdoors playing in the UFL. You have the knowledge to come into the indoor. I can't say in a quarterback aspect, I don't know what outdoor and indoor, what it's like, but I will say throwing hitches to 5 yards and throwing posts and corners, I think that's as simple as it can get for a quarterback in a throwing scheme. So trying to dumb the game down for him was what our main focus was for the week.
Makes perfect sense. How was that adaptation between the way Struck leads to the way Self leads in offense?
I will say they are two different guys. Trey is very quiet. He has his moments, like he'll show his leadership and everything like that, but he's a quiet guy. He's one of the guys, stays at the hotel with the guys, he lives with the guys, like he's just one of the guys. And he came in, fit very well. Matt being with us previous years, and everybody loved Matt. He still stuck around after the injury and everything like that. He's still part of the team, and he's still family. But Trey coming in, and he just fit in like a glove. Came into Amarillo. We go down 16-0 in that game. Nobody expected that. And then we go in, tell him just settle down. He makes that first throw to D-Wash, as I think it was a post, down the middle. We score. He finds himself, and then after that, rest is history.
Absolutely. Quite the transition for sure. Cody, do you have any more questions for Matt?
Yeah, like you said, it's kind of a grueling season. You have to have a quarterback change midway through it. We talked to Coach Thomas a couple weeks ago about this. You've mentioned the Sioux City game a couple of times, but as the season progressed and you guys kept stacking wins, you lose to Sioux City, and he called it kind of like a reset, kind of like a, hey, you're going to get kind of humbled in this one. We didn't expect to go undefeated. But as those wins kept stacking up, were you kind of sitting there thinking like, man, we're kind of like a team of destiny right now. How are we winning these games? How are we winning these close games? How are we doing this?
I will say after Colorado or Omaha, Colorado, and Sioux City at home, those 3 home games after going to Louisiana, what really set it off, if you guys remember when the Dodge City Law was here a while back, they used to play Omaha. In the history of owners and arena football that's happened in Dodge City, Kansas, they've never beaten Omaha here. So that game in itself, that was a big one for us. Beating Colorado was another big one for us. And then same thing with Sioux City. Sioux City has never, or Dodge has never beaten Sioux City, just like Omaha. Those 3 teams were the face of the NAL since Beaumont has left. Those were the 3 big faces. So us and Salina came in from the AF1. They had Salina ranked higher than us for the preseason rankings, and then I remember they had us sitting at 6 at the rankings when it started. So being able to knock off those 3 big faces, it really showed us like, okay, we can sit here, we could play football. Do we get it done comfortably? No, not necessarily, but we are finding ways to win football games. But the big main thing was, compared to last year, there was a lot of controversy in the locker room towards the end of the season, and that's really what made the brotherhood kind of like split up. Everybody kind of just wanted to do their own thing. This year, it wasn't like that. Everybody kind of came together from the start. We all kind of made great friends, and it was a great locker room. Like, we were all together. If there was an issue, somebody on that end of the football, on that side, was going to stop it. Defensively, offensively, like, hey, we're not going to fight. We're not going to do this. Like, we have to stay together. Being together is the only thing that's going to help us win games. So being able for us to be together as a team is what allowed us to be so successful, even after our loss in Sioux City. teams like that normally break down first round of playoffs and don't make it very far if they don't have a great team or locker room.
But well said. Well said. TJ, do you have anything else for Matt?
Yeah, man. After hoisting that trophy, filling the confetti and everything else, how ready are you to come right back and do it all again next year? And can you are you going to make any maybe guarantees on air?
I promised my wife I wouldn't be playing no more football. I'm done. Last year was my last season. I got to experience it, win a championship. But the good feeling about it was I got another year with D-Wash. He took me under his wing last year. A lot of you guys know D-Wash. Everybody that he's like a god in the arena of football. But that guy is an amazing person outside of football. His heart, just as a human being. So being able to be with him these past 2 years and end it on a high note, that was enough for me. Yeah, I promised my wife no more football, man. My son needs me around. I got a daughter that's going to be 1 in September, so there's a lot more family things that I'd like to do during this time. So no more football for me. I'm young, but I can use my body for other things than being hit.
That's fair. That's fair. It's got to be a tough decision, especially given that you are so young and it is kind of a local team for you. But talk to us a little bit. One of the things that we kind of glossed over real quick is last season you played defense. This season you played offense. You transitioned over to wide receiver. What led to that transition for you? I know that was kind of something that you seemed to want to make happen this season. So why wide receiver for you?
I was a two-way person in high school, but a lot of people told me that I chose the wrong decision for college. I played DB in college. I played nickel, played corner, played safety, but most of my stats came from receiver as high school. In my senior year, I was ranked number 2 in 6A as a receiver just from receiving yards. So last year, kind of towards the end of the season, we kept bringing guys in, kept playing Jack, and there was already 3 DBs. We had Keon, Clary, Michael Lawson, and then D. Trey Matthews was there for an extended time until he got hurt in Salina, and then we brought in Tyzel Lewis. So we had three top guys that play DBs. Not saying that I couldn't cover anybody, but those guys a little bit more knowledgeable in the indoor game. So they brought in Reggie to play Jack for us, and so it was kind of hard for me to find a position to get on the field and play other than being a holder for the kicker and playing kickoff. So I switched over between the Washington game last year, late in the season, and just trying to learn the offense and everything like that. And then the summer leading into the season, Coach Thomas kind of gave me the decision on what I wanted to do. Told him I'd like to play offense and just give it a go. And the more I got to sit in that practice and practice against guys like Shaq Bond, we had Jalen Knox on the team, and just those 2 guys really they make you real better. Naeem Alexander and Timothy Shannon Jr. Those guys, they're all great DBs. So those guys, they make you better, and they show you different things as a receiver that you didn't know about yourself. They've been in the indoor game. Some of those guys are young and coming from college, so you get to help those guys out from being in the indoor game. So yeah, playing offense was more of just a comfortable fit for myself.
Very nice. Cody, do you have anything else for Matt?
Just one last thing. You can't say Southwest Kansas. What is the best venue you've played in throughout your career?
Best venue. Ooh.
You were talking up the championship game, and I think we'd all agree to that. But we'll leave that as an outlier. You got to say somewhere else.
Got to be between Clarksville with Nashville Cats or Albany's Arena. It's between those 2. Those places were absolute, especially the playoff game against Nashville in Clarksville. That game was awesome. There was a bunch of like streamers and famous people there at those games. I got to meet a family that was pretty famous on TikTok. So there was a lot of famous people at that game. So it was pretty cool. So it was between Albany, just because the New York people are absolutely crazy, and Clarksville. Yeah, New York people are nuts. I've never met so many New York people, and especially watching arena football and how big football is there for them people, yeah, Albany people are crazy.
That's awesome. That's awesome. TJ, any more questions for Matt?
No, man, I can attest to the New York thing. I live close to it, and I have family members there. Yeah, they're kind of crazy sometimes, but but no, man. Hey, congratulations on winning the championship, and congratulations on retirement.
Appreciate it. Thank you guys.
Definitely. Matt, thank you so much for joining us this morning. I wanted to kind of give you the floor to, say some words. I mean, if you have anything for fans that you wanted to get off your chest, or friends or family, anything like that, the floor is yours, my friend.
Just to the Southwest Kansas organization, man, I appreciate you guys for having me for 2 years. You guys allowed me to play back home in front of a bunch of people that I love. A great community, a great environment. Not a lot of people know about Dodge City, Kansas, so being able for us to put them back on the map, it's a great thing. To my wife, especially, thank you for being patient for the past 2 years. It's not easy being a football wife. I know that's for sure. I coach high school football as well, so she has to deal with that on top of this. So thankful for her for being patient, holding down our household, and just my family and friends. Just thank you for always being there, and thanks for enjoying the ride and supporting the Southwest Kansas Storm.
Love that. Love that. Thank you so much for your time this morning, Matt. Really appreciate you coming on. We wish you the best of luck and everything after your football on-field career, but it sounds like you got a pretty bright future outside of football. So, enjoy your family time, my friend, and I hope you enjoy all the extra time with your kids, and you get to go out a champion. So, not a lot worse ways to retire, I'd say.
No, sir. No, sir. I appreciate it, fellas. Happy 4th to y'all, by the way.
Definitely. Thank you so much for joining us today, and like I said, best of luck, man.
Thank you.
Of course. Once again, that was Matt Freeze, wide receiver, defensive back for the Southwest Kansas Storm. Great guy. Got to meet him in person this past couple of weeks, for the playoff games and the championship. So it was a good time. And he was a really good guy and obviously local. So I felt the game mattered a little bit more to him. So it was an interesting interview to have on. So running through a couple comments real quick, since we started off a little bit different than we normally would. Roger Beck checking in as always, one of our biggest supporters here in the network. So we really appreciate Roger Beck and the Columbus Lions, who, by the way, have had a killer season themselves as well. Looks like they're on their way to a very interesting championship game next week, which we'll get to a little bit further. Roger Beck checking in again. Sea-Dog the GOAT, as always. Really appreciate you being here every Saturday, man. Checking in here. That was a great interview, he says. And then obviously, of course, Cody saying we are live. So on that note, we're going to finish up a little bit more information about the NAL. There's a couple players who have signed elsewhere, and some of which are interesting. We recently spoke on a rule from the IFL that basically prevents players from the NAL going over to them after the NAL season has ended. However, there have been a handful of players that have managed to find their way onto IFL rosters despite this rule. So kind of seems like it's not necessarily being enforced all that tightly, but we were talking about it the past couple of days, and we actually just watched Ivan Corbin, who was with the Omaha Beef earlier on in the season, start for Quad City and actually played fairly well, honestly. Keyshawn Cobb has signed with the Green Bay Blizzard, and then is it Katron Allen? And then was it Tucson he signed with? I didn't catch the team, but he was previously with Pueblo.
Oh, who did he play for? Who was he for?
Played for Pueblo, but he signed with Northern Arizona.
That's
my fault, Northern Arizona. So let's kind of unpack this a little bit. I mean, why would they have this rule and then not necessarily enforce it, across the board as they have? I mean, I've heard some players say that they can't go over. I've heard some players, ultimately sign and play. What do we think is the reason that's leading to some of these situations? Let's go to Cody first.
Yeah, I don't have the fullest explanation on the rule. So Coach Davis, if you're watching, explain it. But yeah, from what we were told was just hey, and it goes back to the rule all the way back to if you sign a contract with a different league while you're already signed with the IFL, you're suspended for the entire year. which Ivan Corbin was the quarterback for Iowa, and then he got released, I think, he got suspended, and then he signs with the Bee for a couple of games, and then now he's playing for Quad City. So I'm not sure what happened there. Kind of the same thing. Keyshawn Cobb was with Vegas for a minute. I think he actually got released. So I think there's a difference between actually getting released and coming back, and then like actually being on a roster and signing with a different team. So there could be a caveat to that when it comes to it. Because like I said, if you're actually released, then you don't have a contract with it. But then I'm not entirely sure. Like I said, Ricky has a comment here. We can try and unpack that too. Yeah, so Corbin didn't finish the season on Omaha's roster, but like I said, I don't know if that. I figured you're suspended for the entire season in the Indoor Football League, even if you sign a contract anywhere else and you're already under contract with the IFL. Could be wrong, but there's so many stipulations with all these damn leagues that it's hard to keep track of everything.
Right, and that's kind of my question as well. If they didn't end the season on the roster, then I can understand that there might be that caveat. But then, we're seeing it with other players that have ended the season on a roster. So it just seems like Ricky said that it's being enforced kind of sporadically, or maybe, they're having a hard time kind of trying to research where a player's played before and stuff like that. And I might throw out there that they could just hit Krish up because he knows where everybody's played ever. So, Krish, what are your thoughts on that? I mean, it seems like a kind of an odd situation all the way around.
I'll say this, there's no player in the NAL that can go over the IFL and dominate. Dominate to a point where they can change a game. You know what I mean? Like, it's a different level of play, in my opinion. But I will say, like, Keyshawn Cobb, great DB out of Nevada. I'm surprised he even went to Omaha. I mean, he's such a talented player. Now he's with the Green Bay Blizzard. He's a great addition for them. They lost DeAndre Glover for the season, so he's going to come in and be that plug and play a guy for them. And I think he's a great addition. But I think sometimes, it's an honesty thing. I think sometimes coaches can't be honest with players, and they might use this, thing as an excuse so they don't have to sign NAL guys because they're not good enough to make the team. I mean, hey, he was balling out before he got hurt, and he's going to come back, and he got a new head coach and offensive coordinator, so he'll be dicing it up.
Hold on, a what? A what now?
A new head coach and offensive coordinator in Colorado. Come on now.
Oh, interesting. No announcements on that. Interesting.
No.
Cobb was on Omaha's roster and played in the playoff game, and yeah, that was another reason why we spoke about Katron Allen, which I believe was on Pueblo's roster till the very end as well.
Yeah, I was so excited when I saw Ivan Corbin come in and play against us, man. We were one hit away from, knocking him out the game, but he balled out against us, on the ground, and he's a good guy. He can complement Daquan Neal's play style in Quad City. So
I agree. I think that's
what's an example of that? Give me like one or two players in your opinion who have come in and, made a game-changing difference. When I mean game-changing, I'm talking like come in and, kind of carry the team type deal.
I feel like there's a pretty good handful.
First one that comes to mind is Josiah King.
Yeah, he was with Corpus Christi. I mean, granted, that wasn't NAL, right? That was AF1 at the time. But still.
Yeah, I guess you're right. I thought that was an AL. My bad.
It's all good. You really don't think there's a handful of players this season that could go in and dominate?
Dominate. Like when I mean dominate, I mean like perform at such a high level where they're going to change the result of a game. Like Bassett Woodley can play for any team in the country, in my opinion. He can go right now and play and then be good and be solid. But will he come in and be that guy, number one guy right away? Like it's, it's up in the air.
Fair. TJ, do you have any thoughts on this topic?
It's hard to quantify what we consider dominate. That's also another conversation.
100% it is. 100% it is. TJ, any thoughts on this topic?
I mean, I feel like they made the rule kind of just to deter players from doing it. Would you like them to be a little bit more vigilant in enforcing it, yes, but I'm sure in their rule there's some kind of gray area where they had to spend a certain amount of time on the roster, maybe, or something like that. I'm sure there's some kind of loophole system that they're going to use when people start calling them out for being inconsistent. But I mean, at the end of the day, if one season's over, I don't see the harm in if they fulfilled the other team's contract. Why can't they go somewhere else? I mean, let them make more money, let them get some more notoriety, maybe let them catch on in the CFL or UFL or something because they get to play for multiple teams. I mean, that's just my opinion, though.
No, and that's kind of my thought process. Like, my big thing is I always go back to the money level. Like, these guys aren't making millions. It's so at the end of the day, if a player who finishes the season with the Pueblo Punishers wants to go play on an IFL roster or AF1 or really any other league, and it's not, like you said, a direct conflict of interest with the team that he was initially signed with, I don't see why it should be a problem personally. But again, we're talking about our opinions here. We understand the logic of not having them play and stuff like that, but it's just, I don't think it's necessary per se.
What's next? You're going to have Lamar Jackson go to the CFL? This is getting out of hand.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, I'll use an example, right? Vegas
won a championship there.
Yeah, Vegas signed. So Vegas signed Angelo Gross. He went to sign with overseas. He left, and we'll talk about that, later. But he signed. Coach Davis signed him from Oregon after Oregon folded. So, like, there are players, who can make, who can fill in spots on a roster. But, like, look at Angelo Gross, right? Like, he's kind of a depth guy in Vegas at this point. So that's why he left.
He's got a good example here. Aaron Jackson was dominant. At least last year with Fishers, he played really well.
Yeah, Tamar Hart. But the thing with Tamar Hart, though, is he started at Duke City in the IFL.
Yeah.
True.
And Aaron Jackson was with Duke City before he went there too. Journey Sloan, ironically enough, was with Duke City before they went there. So it's like Duke City developed all of these guys to be really good, and then Omaha was just like, now you're really good. Come join our team.
Yes and no. I mean, I think Journey Sloan in particular, I think he really had his breakout with Omaha. But that's my opinion, right?
So are you talking about Salina Liberty loser? I'm just kidding. No, he had a great game.
He did, and off the off the street. So
yeah,
which is always more impressive. But anyway, we've got our next guest waiting, so we're going to go ahead and get a quick commercial break, and then we'll come back and we'll talk about the IFL. We are very excited to be joined by one of the members of the ownership group for the Athens indoor football team. We'll talk about the fact that they've finalized down to 4 names. We'll talk about the hiring of a new head coach. We'll also talk about their approach to promoting the team and being in the community, because we're very excited to hear about kind of more of their plans. So thank you to Mike Salmond, who will be joining us here shortly with Athens. Again, very excited to have him on.
How many times a week?
Like three, four times maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
The mountains you climb. Maybe stairs. The records you set. Maybe personal. The fans you inspire. Maybe family. No lights, no camera, just action. You don't have to be a pro. You just need HoneyStinger.
All right. As mentioned before, we are joined by one of the members of the ownership group, Mike Salmond of the Athens football team. Mr. Salmond, how are you doing this morning?
It's good. Don't worry about messing up the name. We don't have a name yet. We don't know what we're called, but hopefully sometime soon we'll figure it out.
Absolutely. So I was going to say, you guys have finalized down to 4 names. Some interesting options, of course, and some of the. It seems like every single option on the list have some sort of ties back to the Athens area. So, do you mind kind of breaking down those names for the fans that are watching and kind of why they have some meaning to Athens?
Sure. Thank you very much for having me, by the way, and happy 4th of July to everybody. Each name has a story tied into Athens. So we had over 1,000 people submit names over about a 1-month period, and we got about 300 different names that we had to select from. And so there were a lot of great names, a lot of names with Greek mythology, as you might imagine, because we're named after Athens, Greece. But we went with 4 that were uniquely Athens, really had a story to tell. So those 4 final names that people can now vote for on our website at athensfootball.com are the Athens Bulldogs, which of course is a takeoff the Athens. The Athens Bullfrogs, which is a takeoff the Georgia Bulldogs, which of course are our neighbor down the street. Go Dogs, go Frogs. And the Bullfrogs obviously are big in the South. We see them all over the place. So the Athens Bullfrogs is one. The Athens Crush. That has to do with the music scene. REM is one of the popular groups that came out of the Athens music scene. They were just getting started when I was a student here at UGA, and one of their big songs is Orange Crush. So we selected the Athens Crush, although we will not wear orange. We want to make that clear. That's Texas, Tennessee, Clemson, Florida. We do not want to get run out of town, so we will not wear orange, but we could be the Athens Crush. Then we have the Athens Hedgehogs, which I think is pretty cool. The Hedgehogs, of course, the hedges around Sanford Stadium at UGA, and the Hogs playing tribute to our dogs down the street. So the Athens Hedgehogs, that leaves a lot of opportunities for marketing and merchandise. And then the final one is the Athens Panic, which also goes back to the Athens music scene. Widespread Panic is a huge group that came out of Athens. And so all 4 of them have a unique story to tell, and people are voting for them right now, and I have no idea which way we're going to go just yet, but whichever we can't lose no matter which one we choose.
Definitely some unique names there and some interesting ties back to the region. So, TJ, I'm going to let you ask the first question, my friend, and I'm curious, which name would you pick if you had the opportunity to put your vote in?
I kind of like the way Bulldogs and Bullfrogs kind of roll together. I do like that. So I would put my vote for that. It will be interesting to see, though. You mentioned how every name has a different tie, so it'll be interesting to see if the 2 names that are more related to the sports scene get picked over, one of the music-minded ones. So it's pretty interesting how you went that way with it. Being at the IFL Cup, getting to see and hang out with some members from the Athens team, I could see the excitement and everything else. What's the buildup been like? What's the fan reception been like since you've announced this team?
It's been phenomenal. It's very cool when you're in the sports business. You're in sales. I mean, you're always in sales. You're selling tickets. You're selling sponsorships. You're selling seats. And typically you're out there trying to find people to talk to. People have been reaching out to us ever since we had our announcement 4 weeks ago in late May. We've had companies reaching out to us wanting to be a part of this. So the excitement is awesome. This is a football crazy market, and that's why we decided that Athens was a place we wanted to be. I would not, I've done this off and on for many, many years. This will be the 3rd franchise that I've launched. And the market is the most important thing. You can have the best front office, you can have the best ownership, but the market's really got to embrace your team. And what we saw in Athens with the Rock Lobsters, which is a low-level minor league hockey team, I mean, they were selling out Aikens Ford Arena. There are Rock Lobster fans throughout Athens, and the way they put their arms around that professional sports team made us opened our eyes and said, what happens if we bring professional indoor football to a market that loves its football? And to have now football year-round in Athens, the excitement has been amazing. We could not be happier, but getting back to my original point, I probably would not do this in other markets or in other cities. Athens just was a perfect fit, and it made sense, and we know we're going to do very well. I completely expect to sell out all 8 of our home games in 2027. We play at Aikens Ford Arena. It's much like the arena in Vegas. It's only seats about 6,000 people. We're off to a great start, but I feel like we're going to be the thing to do in the spring and summertime in Athens. There's nothing else going on, and people love their football around here, so we can't wait to get started.
All right, let's just go around the horn. Cody, same question to you, my friend. Which name do you pick, and do you have a question for Mike?
Yeah, I've already put my comment in. I love the Bullfrogs. It has so many tie-ins with UGA. You can call your mascot Frugga. I mean, you can have a live mascot just like Ugga. He can just be in a nice little swampy cage. You can lead him out there. You can have the calling of the frogs. Instead of, go dogs, it's go frogs. Ribbit, ribbit, ribbit. So, I mean, it can tie in. You can have a really, menacing frog, but also, family-friendly. So kids can hang out with the mascot and stuff like that. So, I mean, it plays into it. I know I'm kind of throwing my influence around a little bit, but I do like that idea, mainly because there was a team that was supposed to be the Bullfrogs back in Toledo in the AF2 days, and I always wanted to see it. We saw mock-ups of the uniforms and things like that, so I would love to see something like that come to fruition, but that's not up to me. That's up to the fans to decide. My question for you is, and I know you kind of touched on it a little bit, but maybe expand it a little bit further. This is your third launch of an indoor or arena team, and I don't mean this as a dig, please, but what makes you think that this is going to stick this time compared to the other two?
Well, I wouldn't say the other two didn't stick. When we launched Birmingham Steel Dogs at AF2 in 2000, I mean, we had over 14,000 fans in the BJCC arena for our first game. We averaged over 10,000 fans our first season. The Steel Dogs were hugely successful with Bobby Humphrey as our head coach. What happened, it wasn't the team or the city or anything that let the Steel Dogs down. It was, of course, the league. The league went out of business. Columbus, Georgia, we launched the War Dogs in 2001 and did well. And of course, you still have the Columbus Lions playing in the market. So we feel like we started something that has now gone on for 26 years. And then I came in a little after they had just announced the team for Montgomery, Alabama, a team called the Maulers in the old NIFL. I don't even remember what those initials stand for. And we did very well there as well. The 1 year I was there, then I saw the writing on the wall for that league and I got out. So, but this market feels different. It's a sense of community. Everybody knows everybody. Everybody is rooting for us. We've already been working with companies that have, in the indoor football league, you've got to provide the housing for these guys. You've got to provide all the meals and food for the players. We've had restaurants step up already that have said we want to be a part of that. So we've signed some restaurants. We're on the verge of signing our big apartment deal with some folks that are working with us and willing to accept trade as far as advertising to help us with our budget. It just feels different. And having lived in this area, I live about 35 miles from Athens towards Atlanta in Gwinnett County. But I live in Gwinnett County where we had the Georgia Force for many years. And I did some work for the Georgia Force, and it just wasn't the same. In Athens, we are the only team they have in that time of the year. And as I said earlier, they put their arms around the Rock Lobsters. We feel that love. They've been very welcoming to us. People are wanting to help us. The market just feels different. That even if I didn't have success in other places where I was, it's just a great feel, and it's hard to describe, I guess, until you're here. But when I'm here and I'm in the market, it's like, it's different. So again, it goes back to being in the right market. In my other places, I wasn't sure if we'd have success or not until it actually happened. In Athens, I feel very good that this is going to take off and do very well.
Glad to hear it. Definitely encouraged by what I've seen so far. It sounds like it's going to be a very entertaining show or spectacle for fans there in Athens, just based on our conversations privately and then what we've seen from the team so far.
And if I can also add, Cody, the fact that we've got this long runway, I've never had this before. Typically, we get in maybe 5 months before, you're kicking off. Here we are. We announced it in May, almost a year before we would be kicking off. So this long runway is amazing. We've already got some sponsorship deals cut. We've got season tickets sold, and, so by the time we get to September, which is when I'm kind of used to launching a team, we'll already be way ahead of the game. So not only the fan involvement and interaction and the energy that I could feel, but just behind the scenes, things that you're not seeing, we're so far ahead of the game right now.
That's great to hear as well. Krish, same question for you, my friend. Which name would you pick? And then do you have any questions for Mike?
Yeah, I think I'm going to go with the Athens Panic. I like the basic kind of logo and concept, that it can possibly, pertain to that. One question I have for you is about the head coach, interview process. Obviously you brought in Rob Keefe, a respected coach around the industry. Did you guys go through an interview process, or did you always know he was your number one guy?
A year ago, before anybody even knew who we were, our ownership group got together, and Jerome Bettis asked me, "Do you have any ideas who our head coach might be?" And I joked about some people. I said, how about John Gruden? He's not coaching anywhere right now. As you know, Jay Gruden was a star quarterback and coach in the Arena Football League. So there's some arena football and indoor football ties there. But I knew that wasn't realistic. Plus, we know the Grudens are high maintenance. I don't know if I'd handle John Gruden with that personality, although I think he's awesome. But I said, listen, there was a guy that played for me back in Columbus back in 2004 named Rob Keefe, who's gone on to have just a little bit of success in this game. He's won 7 championships. And so I brought up his name. And I've been following his career, but I just seen that he got signed with the Orlando Pirates. So I said, well, that's not going to be a possibility. So we'll go through the interview process with other folks when we get to that point. But then, lo and behold, before we were ready to even, announce a head coach or go in that direction, I'm watching Yahoo Sports, and they announced before a game that Rob had stepped down. Here's a guy. Here's a guy who has the pedigree. So there's no question about it. He's won championships. He's got the relationships with players. He has everything we're looking for. It was just a matter of, would he be interested in us? And I had to have a conversation with him as well. I hadn't talked to him in 22 years since he was a rookie player in Columbus, Georgia. So we had an amazing conversation. I tracked him down 2 days after he had resigned from Orlando. Had a long conversation. A few weeks later, we met in Jacksonville. We met in an IFL Sharks game, and along with some of our other owners, and we just felt like that was the guy. So, more so than other places. We hired Bobby Humphrey in Birmingham many years ago. Joe Campbell was a former player with the Nashville Cats. We hired him in Columbus many years ago. But this one, again, just like everything else, it just felt different. And the planets have aligned. Beautiful building. We're in the top league in the country. Amazing ownership group with some great names. And then to have what we believe is the best coach in the indoor game become available to us. Everything just aligned. He was our guy from day one, and he was just as excited to join us as we were to have him be our head coach.
All right, Trey, we'll kick it over to you, my friend. Which name? And then I'm sure you got questions for Mike.
Yeah, I'm a big fan of bullfrogs and hedgehogs. I think the alliteration of those and the tip of the cap to what you got going on at UGA down the street is very, very fun. But yeah, speaking on Rob Keefe, I couldn't imagine letting a coach like that walk out the door. So that's a big, big grab for you guys, and a great way to start the franchise. My question is for you personally. Did some digging. Looks like you have a lot of experience in sports broadcasting as well. How do you think that experience will help you kind of get the roots developed of this team?
Well, it helps in bits and pieces. I know kind of what the media is looking for sometimes. I know, they're looking for storylines and when we're trying to get publicity, when we put the press release out, I kind of, you want to make it an interesting story so you get picked up in the paper or on TV or on radio and so forth. It's really helped with relationships, to be honest. The reason Brian Jordan is part of our ownership group is he and I did some Gwinnett Braves minor league baseball games together. So we've worked together. David Pollock, of course, worked at ESPN. And even though I did not know David personally before this venture, we had a lot of mutual friends in the business. So I reached out to like my friend at ESPN, Reese Davis, who I worked with many years ago when Reese was just getting involved in television. And he opened the door to let me into David Pollack. And so when I called David Pollack, and he had no idea who I am, I threw out Reese's name, and we connected there, that we had some mutual friends in the business. So it's helped me in little areas like that. I feel comfortable talking to the guys like you about, what we do, because I'm used to being on air and things like that. So, just little bits and pieces, Trey. I can't say it's really anything, big. It's not like it's typical to be in the sports broadcasting world and then they go into sports ownership. But how that kind of evolved is, when you're a minor league baseball announcer, and I spent several years as a minor league baseball broadcaster, a couple of years in Greensboro, North Carolina. We were the single A affiliate of the New York Yankees. So I got to see Jorge Posada, Andy Pettitte, Derek Jeter, Mariano Rivera. All on the same team. We're riding around the Southeast on the same bus. So, that was pretty cool to know them back then. And had I known their future, I would have gotten a lot of baseball signed, but that was a blown opportunity for me. But nevertheless, it's not a typical way to get into sports broadcasting, but when you are in the minor leagues, you wear many hats. And so you're in the front office selling tickets and selling sponsorships. And that's what opened the door for me to get into sports management, and did pretty good at it, and had opportunities to launch teams in the past. And again, just saw this opportunity in Athens and was doing due diligence for the arena. I didn't know it was going to be me involved. I was just helping them maybe get into the arena football or indoor football business. And then as I was talking to my friends, Brian Jordan, then my friend who's a doctor, who is Jerome Bettis's doctor. So that's the connection there. And Jerome Bettis said, hey, why don't we do this? I started thinking, okay, why don't we put the group together and we bring the team there, and the rest is history, as they say.
Yeah, it's awesome to hear that. It's not about who you know, but it's about who you know, who they know. It's kind of like a tangled web. That's funny to hear how it all came together.
And it's a lesson in treating people the right way, because you want to treat people the right way on your way up, because you're going to pass them again on the way down. And my career, like I'm sure like a lot of folks, has been peaks and valleys. And right now I like to think that I'm in one of the peaks. But, you just treat people well. You never know where relationships will go. Look at this with Rob Keefe, 22 years later. Here's a guy I hadn't talked to, but had a relationship with him 22 years ago. I always thought the world of him, and we got along great then. And when I called him up, it was like time had not even passed.
That's awesome. I want to stay on your background a little bit. Obviously we connected via LinkedIn, and if you go and look at your background there, you've been involved in baseball, you've been involved in hockey, you've been involved in multiple arena football teams. So I'm curious, how have you adapted your experience and knowledge from each different situation? It being involved with the Atlanta Knights, the Greensboro Hornets, Birmingham Bulls, all these different teams. How have you adapted that knowledge into the Athens football team for 2027?
You pick up pieces everywhere you go, and you learn how to do things the right way. And sometimes you see how things should not be done. I've made my share of mistakes over the years. There were things that I did when I was running the Columbus arena football team that I would not do here. It's like, I should not have done that. I made a mistake. But you pick up pieces. The Atlanta Knights, our 4 years in the city, we were in the International Hockey League. 3 of our 4 seasons, we outdrew the NBA's Atlanta Hawks. We played in the same building, the old Omni, and I learned there about the promotions and how to entertain. The name of our team is the name of our company that owns this franchise in Athens is called Athens Sports Entertainment. The entertainment part is just as important as the sports part. Football, yeah, is going to be a big part of what we're doing, but it's the things around the game that we're going to do. So I learned, especially with the Atlanta Knights, that we really got to entertain folks around the game. There's going to be things going on in the concourse. There's going to be things going on before the game, and of course during timeouts and after the game. And I want to be different. I don't want to do the same thing as everybody else. We had our press conference. I don't even want to call it a press conference. In late May, we held our kickoff celebration. I don't know if you guys, any of you folks, have seen some of the video of what we did there. I don't want to do a boring press conference. So we did a celebration. We had Michael Jackson kick things off, and we had Michael Jackson perform Billie Jean for 3 minutes before we started. We had an Elvis impersonator. We had a lady there that was spitting fire out of her mouth and juggling fire, before and during and after the celebration. And then we all spoke, and you may have seen some video of David Pollock. We had these big old funky noggins, these hats that they were wearing. I don't want to do things the same way. I want to do things differently. I question everything. So when we're looking at our format for our game day operations, the players running out on the field before the game, I question that. Should we have them maybe run out through the stands, through the crowd, like the Savannah Bananas do sometimes? Maybe they come out on bicycles or on motorcycles. I'm not saying we're going to do that because I got other people in the organization that sometimes pull me back. But what can we do to get people entertained, to get them entertained where when they leave the game, they're not going to remember the score. They may not even remember who won because they were just so involved in everything else, but they're going to remember how they felt. And if we can make them go away going, man, that was so much fun. My kids enjoyed it. They'll come back. So it's all about entertainment. And these are just bits and pieces I picked up, but then I got a lot of inspiration from our friends down the street, the Savannah Bananas. I really appreciate what they're doing. They took baseball and they made it interesting. Well, we've already taken football the outdoor game, and made it interesting because this is a quirky game, this indoor game. It's got weird rules. It's nuts. You don't even know what the heck's going on half the time. So we've already made it interesting. So we're going to try to get that Savannah Bananas type energy in everything we do. That win, lose, or draw, man, you're going to have a good time. You're going to go home going, what the heck was that I just saw?
We have a suggestions here for big lily pad if you go with the Bullfrogs for the arena. So,
I've actually gotten a little stressed out because of this whole thing, because there are so many good names that are going to be left on the table, and so many cool logos and cool ideas that are going to be left on the table that we can't use. And we've got to make some hard decisions. I mean, do we want to have that tie-in with UGA, which of course would be Bullfrogs and Hedgehogs? Or do we want to be completely, our own identity 100%, where we would then be Panic or Crush? So, we're taking the input right now. The voting will end on the July 9th, but we've got some tough decisions, and it's going to be hard because no matter what we pick, there's going to be people that love it, and there's going to be a lot of people that hate it and don't like it. That's just life. But we hope that everybody will come around and get behind the team, whether we're the Bullfrogs, the Tadpoles, or whatever the heck we end up being.
Now, just throwing this out there, is there any chance that we eventually see some sort of alternate? Maybe you come back, you visit one of these names that got some votes but wasn't the winner, and you get an alternate jersey night or something?
You're thinking like me now, my friend. Yes, I've already thought about things like that because I've seen some mock-ups of some of these names. And like I said, only one's going to win, but I saw some mock-ups and I go, oh my God, that is so cool. So, we're going to do things differently. That's all I'm going to say. In Athens, we're going to do things differently.
I do have a question really quick, and it kind of goes along those lines. So the last couple of seasons, we've seen teams in Green Bay and Jacksonville kind of link up with colleges in the area, whether it's been North Florida or whether it's been the Green Bay Phoenix, and sponsor a night. Obviously, Georgia has a team already, but would it be something along those lines where you could be something Georgia related? Because Georgia has this really weird ability to not want to wear their black jerseys, which are incredible, and I would love to see them maybe on an indoor football field.
I'm not going to say no. I can't say yes. I can't say no, but I love the idea. I mean, we have David Pollock, part of our ownership group, so that gives us the connections to UGA. I mentioned in our meeting with him like a year ago, I said, man, could we have like Kirby Smart flip the coin for our first game? And David's like, done. We'll get it done because they have a great relationship. UGA runs Athens. I mean, Athens is UGA. UGA is Athens, is all intertwined. We're not going to be foolish and not try to do some things that tie into the campus, whether it be a toga night for Greek life for the students there, something fun like that. But everything is on the table. So, I mean, I love to have you in the room. I mean, I love that idea. I mean, I'm a sponge. I suck all this stuff in and want to talk about it. I never say no. I go, you may come out with the stupidest craziest idea. And I'll go, let's talk about it. Let's not throw that off the table just yet. Let's talk about it. So I hadn't thought about that, to be honest with you, Cody, but absolutely. Let's talk about that. That's cool.
If you want stupid or crazy ideas, this is the group. So just letting you know in the future, just let us know.
Okay.
We
you know what?
managed-
You know what? It's not stupid. It's not crazy. We're here to entertain. We're here to entertain. We're here to have fun. And I said this during our kickoff celebration. What the heck's going on in the world right now? It's just crazy out there. We want people to be able to come into Aikens Ford Arena and for 3 hours laugh, cheer, smile, cry, whatever it is. Let's just but the big word is let's have fun. Win, lose, or draw, we're going to have a good time. We're going to forget about all the pressures of the world. We're going to forget about our jobs, all our issues that we're having. We're just going to have a good time together. And Athens it's a big enough to support this, but it's also small enough where you really feel like your family.
That's awesome. That's awesome. TJ, do you have any more questions for Mike?
I do have one more, not completely about the team, but just kind of going off of your experiences over obviously the decades of being involved in the sport. Do you think right now you're kind of seeing a repeat in time of the sport itself on the rise with popularity and the ability to be out there with all the channels all the leagues are getting now?
Absolutely. Yeah. We did our due diligence. We did our research, and it feels like it's on an upward swing right now. The AFL went out of business, I think, 2009, something like that. And I saw the writing on the wall back then. The business model just wasn't sustainable. And quite frankly, indoor football and arena football has been a dumpster fire for the past 15 years or so. I'll be the first to admit it. You guys have seen it. You guys are reporting on it. You guys are talking about it. Leagues were trying to get markets. They wanted markets so bad. They were giving away teams and franchises to people that had no business owning teams. They had no idea what they were doing. They didn't have the money and finances to support it. I've had leagues come to me, these alphabet leagues come to me saying, "Hey, we'll give you a franchise for nothing." And I'm like, no, I mean, it doesn't look good. You're going to have franchises go out of business. And you've seen that over the last dozen years with teams going out of business before they even play their first game or in the middle of a season. But when I did my research and I looked at all the leagues, I was looking for stability. I was looking for ethics. I wanted to, leagues that do things right. I mean, not all leagues do things the right way. And in the IFL, time and time again, was the league that had the most stability, the most credibility, and in my opinion, by far was the top league in the country. And you look at what the IFL is doing now, and they're getting in the right ownership groups. They're stable, and they're growing slowly, strategically, and the right way. And the work that's being done behind the scenes as far as Yahoo Sports, and hopefully soon a big announcement regarding, another broadcast partner. They're doing it the right way. The growth is there. I feel like we're going to have another peak or, that it's on its way up, TJ. Much like arena football back in the in the 90s, early 2000s was the thing. They were popular, but the business model, because I got to see it from the inside out, I mean, the business model was not sustainable. But when I looked at the business model for the IFL, it made sense. And I'll tell you, and you guys probably have had this discussion, should the players be paid more? Absolutely they should. I mean, they put their bodies on the line. But if players make much more money than they're making now, the league won't survive. I mean, because we are playing in small arenas that have a finite number of seats. We're not playing in 60,000 seat stadiums like the outdoor game. We don't have TV money coming in like the NFL does, where the NFL, those teams are making money before they sell their first ticket. Ticket revenue, merchandise revenue, and sponsorship revenue is all we get. So our costs have to be manageable. And so, players, unfortunately, we can't pay them $100,000 a year or $200,000 a year, which started happening in the AFL, which is what put it out of business ultimately. And I think we saw that mistake happen. I think the players saw that mistake and they realized, man, I wish I could make more money, but I do know that we've got to give something for this to survive and do well. So if we can keep that's my only concern, TJ, my only scare that I'm worried about is if we get away from being smart financially and we stay with our business model and don't do stupid things and start thinking we're the NFL, because we're not. We know our place. So if we do business the right way and we continue to be smart, You'll continue to see I can't speak for the other leagues, but you'll continue to see the IFL traject forward and do well and continue to be the top league and get only bigger and brighter, and more people will start following us, and it's going to be phenomenal. So yes, this is a great time to get into. Again, I can't talk about the other leagues, but a great time to get into the IFL. And you're seeing that with Athens. You're seeing that with Austin, Texas. And we keep getting teased by Jared Widman and Todd Tryon that there's going to be more. I don't know what those are going to be, but it's, I'm hearing good things. The rumor mills are starting. The future is very, very bright. If you're an investor, in the stock market, now's a good time to invest.
There you go. So, we've long talked about the IFL as kind of the gold standard of indoor football. And I mean, they've built that reputation over, 16, 17, 18 years now. So they deserve it, and obviously we acknowledge that. So it's good for them to have ownership groups like yours coming in and realizing the value in what they're doing and understanding the past as well, because I think that's important. If we don't understand the past, we're doomed to repeat it. Right. So I'm glad that the league has that in the back of their mind. Like, hey, we can't repeat the past or the mistakes that we've seen from the AFL and leagues in the past to ultimately shutter this thing. So when we look at the IFL as a whole, how do you as a franchise owner go about building the pathways to get players in and out? Obviously, part of keeping costs low is you're not carrying a ton of veteran players on the team. Most of these guys are, really kind of developmental players looking to get to the next level. So how as a franchise are you going to build those pathways and kind of make it to where players can make that leap regularly?
We're as Commissioner Tryon says, we're a league of opportunity. If you've got a guy that's on your team for 4, 5, 6 years, then we're not looking for that. We're looking for that guy that wants to get to the next level. That's eager and hungry, that wants to get to the next level. That's our job. I want to see Rob Keefe one day be coaching in the NFL. I want to see our players one day playing in the NFL or the UFL or the Canadian Football League. We want to move them up. That's what we're supposed to do. So, we're going to be looking for those young, hungry players. Those are the ones that, and I've learned a lot just talking to Coach Keefe over the last couple of weeks. Those are the ones that are the easiest to coach because they want to bust their butts. They want to get up to that next level. So you want those hungry players. The IFL is very unique in that all players are on 1-year contracts. So they all become free agents at the end of the year. So again, another big plus in getting Coach Keefe is that he has relationships with everybody right now. People know him, he knows them. So you got to get a head coach that has those relationships. So we're going to get in hungry players. You're not going to see 30-year-old players. I know that every once in a while you'll have an exception to the rule. I understand the quarterback in San Diego has been around for a while. I think he's maybe 30 years old or something like that, or maybe older. I'm not really even sure. And he's a star and he's doing a great job. But typically you want to put your roster together with young players that are on their way up, and we want to do everything up. We want to coach them up. We want to get them ready for that next level. You want to see them be successful. That's our job. That's where we stand in the whole football universe.
A little caveat to that as well. I mean, obviously we're developing players, we're trying to get them out, but how do you go about building regional stars as well on top of that?
Regional stars as far as the players?
Yeah, as far as like some recognizable faces for fans to kind of latch onto with your franchise.
Well, typically, your quarterback and your top performers are going to be your quote unquote stars. And of course, in Athens and as a UGA graduate, I want to see some former Georgia Bulldogs. So I would like to see some guys come in that already have some names. So we're looking at those UGA players that weren't drafted, that are undrafted free agents that are trying right now to get on with NFL teams. And if they don't make those NFL teams, I've already told, as a UGA guy, I know who the names are. So I've told Rob, hey, keep an eye on this guy or keep a name on this guy. And I'm sure he's probably going, shut the heck up, Mike. I don't want to hear from you. Let me do my job. But we want to get some recognizable players in here that the UGA fans can wrap their arms around and get behind. That helps. But typically, your play will determine whether you become a star or not. And then, you got to market them as well, social media and things like that. So we're going to try to make all of our players stars. We want to take them on to the next level. We want them all to be winners. So if you come to Athens, if you're a player, and I'm putting on my sales cap now for you players out there, Athens is going to be the place you want to be. We're going to treat you like NFL guys. We're going to treat you right. We're going to take care of you. And our goal is to coach you up and make you the best version of yourself so you can move on to that next level.
Love it. Cody, do you have anything else?
I was just going to make the joke that as long as the Philadelphia Eagles stop drafting Georgia Bulldogs, you might have a chance to get them. So,
I mean, while we're joking, do you guys have a driving service as a partner? I'm just saying, if you got some Georgia Bulldogs, that might be a little dangerous.
You know what? We've seen some of the jokes on social media because for those that don't know, the Georgia Bulldogs seem to have some issues with, getting pulled over by the, police officers when they're driving a little too fast. I don't think they feel, and I could joke about it because I'm the biggest Georgia Bulldog fan you'll find out there. We will have some serious discussions and with the players. I've already had this conversation with Rob Keefe that we will not tolerate that. If they need a ride or they're going out having and Athens is a great place to play. I mean, it's got great restaurants. It's got great night spots. You got the co-eds. We're going to have to keep our eyes on these young men that are coming into Athens. If they need to call me or call Coach Keefe, we've already talked about it. No questions asked. We'll pick you up. We'll get you home, things like that. But we're going to have a no tolerance policy. I mean, you're here to play football. You're here to move on to the next level. Don't do anything stupid. Even though you bring it up kind of as a joke, it's going to be addressed in our first meeting with the team once the team is selected. I can tell you that.
For the record, we're just having fun here. I'm a diehard Eagles fan, so we've drafted like every Georgia player since 2023. So
as a Falcons fan in Atlanta, it drives us nuts why you have these great players right down the road, and we do not ever draft UGA players. But with Matt Ryan now running the show in Atlanta, I think he knows. I think you'll see that change, and hopefully the best players in UGA won't go to Philadelphia anymore. Sorry about that, guys. But hopefully they'll stay home and play in Atlanta.
Well, we're in rough shape if the Eagles stop drafting Georgia players. I don't know what we're going to do at that point. But Cody, did you have another question?
No, I just wanted to make jokes. I will say though, who do you think is going to win the quarterback battle between Michael Penix and Tua?
Me?
Yeah.
I'm going to say Tua just because I have not seen what all this talk is about Michael Penix. I mean, I don't know what it is. I haven't seen anything from him yet that makes me believe that he's going to be that great next quarterback. So I'm going to say Tua just because he's the other choice. I'm not, to be honest with you, as a lot of Falcon fans probably, I'm not a big fan of our quarterback situation right now. Tua can't seem to stay healthy, and Penix, I know it's a big learning curve, but you're going to get me in trouble now with my opinions. These are just my opinions. These have nothing to do with Athens indoor football. This is just Mike talking as a frustrated Falcons fan who still can't get over the 28-3 thing with the Tom Brady years ago in the Super Bowl. My son is a huge Falcons fan. And last year he's thinking we're going to win 10, 11 games. And I'm like, you can't, you don't have a proven quarterback yet. And we didn't make any strides last year in that position. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tua ends up being the starting quarterback, but I'm not excited about either one, to be honest with you, Cody. So
I'll say
that's my personal answer.
I'll say this. If either of them don't pan out, there are plenty of left-handed quarterbacks in the indoor football league, so we could always use some more.
We'll see. But it was interesting that Tua's brother started the year last year with Orlando and then got picked up by the UFL and before the Pirates' first game. But again, it put the Pirates in a tough situation. But then again, that's what we're here for. So I hope to one day have a quarterback in Athens that one day is suiting up for the Atlanta Falcons. But appreciate you asking me that question. Thank you for having me on, guys. I've got to run, but keep up the great work and go Athens. And hopefully we'll see you guys in Athens. And we're looking, hey, win, lose, or draw, we're going to have fun. We're going to do things differently. Hopefully you've seen that. I'm enthusiastic about it. Hopefully that's coming across. And I'm just a reflection of Athens. Everybody in Athens is excited about this. We're going to do very well. I've never been more confident about something in my life. We're off to a great start. Such a great ownership group. Jerome Bettis, Brian Jordan, David Pollock, and now Rob Keefe leading our football program. Man, I'm in heaven right now. I'm at the top of the mountain. So, let's go win some games now. And I want to hold that friggin' IFL championship trophy a year from now. That's all I got to say.
Very nice. Thank you for joining us, Mike. We really appreciate your time this morning, and we're very excited to see what you guys put on the field this next season.
Thank you, gentlemen and folks. Appreciate it. Keep up the great work.
Have a great rest of your day, sir.
All right. See ya.
All right. Once again, that was Mike Salmond with the Athens indoor football team set to launch for 2027. Again, you can vote on the name on the website currently. So if you would like to put your 2 cents in, now is your opportunity. But obviously, that is not the only news coming out of the Green Bay or the IFL this week, as there have been some games to discuss. But I need to step away for a moment, so I'm going to leave you guys with the floor and to kind of recap this week's games.
I guess I'll take the floor. All right, so let's talk Indoor Football League, boys. We got some games to talk about. Obviously, some games from last week that we need to discuss a little bit too. He kind of slipped on Green Bay a little bit, but I do kind of want to touch on your guys' thoughts of the wagon that is the Green Bay Blizzard. They do play against Orlando this week, but throwing up 83 points against Fishers in their previous game. Krish, we'll go with you because I want to get your thoughts on this upcoming game between Green Bay and Orlando. But what are your thoughts on Green Bay so far, and what in your opinion do you think Orlando has to do to kind of stop this wagon?
Yeah, so, I was telling someone this the other day, man, we've come so far since my boy Trey has seen us in person last time, at the IFL Cup. We weren't the team that we are now. Our D-line, we got some great personnel, guys who are really bought into the culture and the standard, and our D-line is playing amazing football. We lead the IFL in sacks. So we have 17 sacks on the year. So it just shows how far our D-line has come. We need to contain Liam Thompson, Too many teams let him run around in the pocket. We need to keep him in the pocket like your Quad City Steamrollers did. About 4 weeks ago, they were able to contain him in the pocket and, because he can't throw off his back foot. You watch the tape. He can't throw off his back foot. So we need to keep him in the pocket. And I believe, we'll be able to do that. But he's MVP in the league, in my opinion. Right now, him and Jaden in Vegas, like head-to-head for MVP. But I feel like we don't lose in the O. We haven't lost in Orlando all season. I think we're there 2 undefeated teams in the league at home, and we're one of them. So our home field advantage, other teams talk about home field, this, that, and the other. Like, no, our home field is the real thing. So, come to the O and get the blow is what I say. So I feel like we're going to get this win.
To clarify, there are 3 undefeated teams at home. Green Bay has completed their home field. Orlando and San Diego are the other 2. Trey, he's calling you out a little bit. What are your thoughts on Green Bay and Orlando?
I love Krish so much. This Green Bay game is going to be super interesting because of what Krish just said, right? Orlando is a very different team at home than they are on the road. Averaging 10 more points per game on offense at home versus on the road. They kind of stumbled out of the gate a little bit against Quad City last week, but anytime they play in Orlando, Paxton DeLorme is just dialed in. It seems like he always has a 22 for 25, 205 touchdown game whenever he's in Orlando. But I think the thing that impresses me the most about this Green Bay offense is this game against Fishers. It wasn't really an electric Liam Thompson game, but they still put 83 on the board. And I think that's terrifying. And the fact that they're able to stretch the defense widthwise in the running game with that read option where Robinson is going wide left and you have to account for Thompson potentially keeping and, going up the middle or going right. So they're able to put you in spots where you really got to pick your poison. And for Green Bay, they've been really good at play calling and putting the players in the right spots to be able to perform at a very high level. So this Green Bay team, unbelievable. This stretch of 3 straight road games to end the season. Mm-hmm. I'm very curious how this works out for them, but this is going to be a good one down in Orlando because it's one of those things where it's like, all right, we got a wagon versus a wagon.
Right.
And one thing, Shai, I want to point out too, you would agree. I think Green Bay has one of the best offensive lines in the country. Their offensive line is amazing. I mean, the way they pass protect, the way they're physical, everything about them, I admire the offensive line. So, we have to show up on defense to even be able to, match their level of physicality.
Yeah, it's gonna be strength on strength for sure. Where, like you said, that Orlando defensive line has been outstanding over the past month and a half or so, and the Green Bay offensive line has been great. Where Andrew Carter got called up to the UFL, he came back and they said, "Hey, the guy we replaced you with, he's playing really, really good at center. We're gonna have to put you at guard." So, like, if they have that type of depth in Green Bay, it's just unbelievable to see.
Yeah. Kyrie Robinson earning Player of the Week honors, 5 touchdowns. It was 119 rushing yards. Dude was on fire last week. TJ, you don't necessarily have a dog in the fight of these day one Orlando, Massachusetts Pirates fans. What are your thoughts between Orlando and Green Bay?
Oh man, it's going to be a good game. Number one, to echo what everyone else has said, if you get Thompson a little uneasy, a little bit of happy feet, you have a chance. You can disrupt him. He doesn't always play top notch, just most of the time, it seems, this season. But for Orlando, you want to come out and you can't afford to start off slow. For me, it's really what Orlando team's going to show up. Is it going to be the team that's ready to go from the jump, or are they going to start off a little slow, specifically on offense? Because if that happens, Green Bay may get the jump out, and that may be a game over already. So I'm looking to see them come out, the scripted plays on offense, put some points up, hang with them, and then see what can happen throughout the game. But make no mistake, though, there is, to me, it is not a guaranteed Green Bay win. This game has the potential to be possibly the best game of the weekend.
I gotcha. You want to go through your picks right now? You want to preview the other games? Your guys' call.
I kind of want to talk about Vegas and New Mexico.
All right, let's preview the games and then we'll do our picks. Let's talk Vegas and New Mexico. Krish, you seem eager to do it. Start us off, bud.
Yeah, I'm just, there's a narrative out there that Vegas has, fallen off the mountain and everything, and I don't believe that. I think this team is getting healthy. They're injured right now. They're bringing new personnel. He made a big decision to move on from their starting linebacker, Ian McBurrow, who led the league in tackles, who, in my opinion, was the best linebacker. But then his play declined, and I don't even know what happened there. Honestly, I don't know how he stopped. He forgot how to play football completely. So, they brought in a new linebacker, one of Trey's boys, and our former player, Calvin Bundage, signed in Vegas. So Calvin Bundage will be playing for Vegas on Sunday. They have Ahmad Walker, a young linebacker from SMU, coming in. They got 3 young DBs, Mike Gant from Kansas, Terrence Welch from UNLV, and then Jamal Sam from UTSA. So it's interesting to see how Vegas has completely shifted their defensive backcourt. And I think their DBs are young and hungry, and that's what you need at this time of year, fresh bodies and health. So I think Vegas will get this win, minus 21.5, no matter who they start at quarterback, because New Mexico is so bad. And if you think Donovan Porter is going to be able to put up numbers against, Coach Davis' defense, then we have a lot bigger problems. If Vegas can't hold New Mexico to 35 and under, then we have bigger problems. So I think Vegas minus 21.5 is a lock.
Yeah. Trey, what are your thoughts on the quarterback situation with Vegas, with Crittenden getting the start last week, Delora coming in to kind of save the day a little bit, but it was Crittenden throwing that Hail Mary to secure the victory against San Antonio?
Yeah, it was one where going into last week's game, I think a couple of us were like, oh yeah, Jaden's going to go in there, throw 5-6 touchdown passes. This is going to be light work, dust the hands off. And then we saw Crittenden get out there and we were like, what is happening? What is going on here? But yeah, I think Jaden's been going through some health stuff that they're getting on the straight and narrow. And truthfully, given how they kind of put the governor on him last week, I wouldn't be surprised if we see the same thing this week as like a preparation for the long stretch of season ahead, since they're in the playoffs at this point. And, as Krish eloquently stated, the roster disparity between New Mexico and Vegas is pretty severe. So they could probably be fine without Jaden. But yeah, this Vegas team is it seems like they're a couple weeks away from being back to 100%. And when this team is 100%, we saw what they were able to do over the first 10 weeks of the season. They were just an absolute wagon.
Yeah. TJ, our resident Nighthawk fan, you guys have gone through a little bit of some turbulence here, but dare I say this is a get-right game for Vegas. What are your thoughts for this game?
I can't wait to hear this. I can't wait.
Well, I mean, first off, I'm sick and tired of betting all the big spreads in Vegas's favor because they've cost me about 3 weeks straight of parlays now. So thanks a lot for that, Vegas. But no, I mean, listen, in a way, it's not the worst thing ever because if you are going to stumble and you're going to have some issues, you'd rather it be now because that way you have a few weeks to get right for the playoffs and then take it on strong. The worst thing you can do, they always say, did you hit your peak too early? Did you hit your stride too early? The worst thing you can do is bottom out just in time for the playoffs. So at least they have some time to get it right, get it fixed. When you really look at the last month and a half of the season, things could be a lot worse for them. I mean, you essentially 2 Hail Marys don't get caught in the right corner of the right rounded edge of the end zone. They possibly haven't won a game in the last month and a half. So, I mean, it could be a lot worse. They've figured it out. They've gotten through it. Luckily, they had a very strong start following that opening week against Green Bay. But I think they're going to be fine. I think today, like Chris said, is a get-right game. They're going to go out there. In a perfect world, they're going to kind of mop the floor with New Mexico, and everything will be right with the world. But again, I just hope they win because the last couple of weeks have been pretty dicey.
Fair enough. Finally, before we get to our picks, talk about the Monday night matchup between these two teams, Arizona and San Diego, which could potentially this has an opportunity for, I believe, San Diego to clinch a home playoff game because it would knock Arizona down to their 6th loss, and then San Diego would get their 11th win, so they would clinch a home field game. Trey, I want to start with you here. First things first, who starts at quarterback for Arizona as they take on San Diego?
I think based on last week, it's got to be Myler at this point. I spoke on it a couple weeks ago where the offense was struggling a little bit, not all due to the quarterback spot. They had a lot of injuries on that offensive line where they were having to fly people in 24 hours in advance to plug somebody in on that Rattlers offensive line. Right. So they're having struggles across the board, but they needed a spark, and Max Myler was able to come in and do that last week. So it felt like, earlier in the season, they did the same thing the opposite way where they pulled Max and put Drew Powell in, gave him an easier opponent back then when Tucson was really struggling to kind of get right and ease into it. It seems like they're doing the same thing with Myler here. Gave him New Mexico last week to ease back into the starting role for San Diego this week. So I'd imagine Myler would get the start, but this San Diego team is really special. I really like what they're doing, especially when you look at what they did against Jacksonville last week. Mm-hmm. On commentary, Curtis Riggs, GOAT commentator, by the way, he's fantastic. They were talking about how whenever Vander is in the backfield, they run the ball 95% of the time with Ed Vander. Mm-hmm. That was in the first quarter. And I'll be damned, they did that almost every single time he was in the backfield. But the thing that's terrifying is Jacksonville couldn't stop it. They knew what was coming, and they couldn't do anything about it. Is that a demerit to Jacksonville, or is that a credit to how well this San Diego offense is playing right now? So the San Diego offense is looking great. Nate Davis, obviously one of the best to ever do it. And the way he's just commanding the field, getting the ball out quick, feeding Vander. This team's looking really, really good.
Yeah. Krish, way back in the IFL Cup days, you and I had a nice little back and forth about the starting quarterback between Myler and Drew Powell. I want to get your thoughts because you were the one that kind of broke the news a little bit, at least on this show, about Powell being the starter going forward. And now we kind of have a little bit of this quarterback conundrum. What are your thoughts about who starts and about the game in general?
Yeah, I expect him to go with Myler the rest of the season just because of how the IFL Cup championship went. Ever since then, DP's a great quarterback in the league. He's a Hall of Famer, but he's kind of past his prime at this point. So, they invested the money to get Myler and they wanted him, restricted free agent. They brought him over from Green Bay, and I feel like he's the guy moving forward. This Arizona team is very talented, very, very talented. They are the most underrated team in the Western Conference going in the playoffs, 1,000%. And they're one of the most underrated teams in the league. They can go up and beat San Diego or Vegas in the playoffs if they play well. That defense is insane. They have 24 interceptions through 13 games. Like that's insanity. Their defense is the best in the league, and I'm a huge their DBs are the best in the league. I'm a huge fan of how they play in Arizona. they're going to lose to San Diego this week, though. This is a big game for San Diego and Nate Davis and all the men. Just because of how the first game went, 21-point beatdown in Arizona, they'll bounce back and get this win against San Diego. Arizona at home. So give me San Diego by 7. I'm going to take San Diego on the money line.
Sweet. TJ, this also kind of benefits you as the Vegas fan. If San Diego wins, that doesn't necessarily benefit you in the sense of getting the number 1 seed, but it does benefit you as in Arizona takes another L and it helps you get a home playoff game. On the flip side, if Arizona wins, you have the head-to-head tiebreaker over the Rattlers, beating them twice, and the San Diego loses, it inches you a little bit closer up to that number 1 spot. What are your thoughts on this game?
Man, well, first and foremost, I mean, to the younger fans watching, this is a rarity. Do not get used to Arizona losing this many games in the season on average, but it's been a little bit of an off year for them. I mean, I'm going to speak on a personal level. I would rather have to face Arizona right now than San Diego. San Diego's a dangerous team. Davis back there has been slinging it, showing his veteran presence. Arizona just seems like they're a little off, to be honest with you. I mean, obviously with the changing of quarterbacks, I saw it at the IFL Cup. Powell got pulled after he threw his second, I believe, interception in that game against Vegas. So, they've been kind of going back and forth at quarterback. Again, even in a down year, they're still a playoff team, but I just think if there is an option to get them with a chink in their armor, it's this season. So I think San Diego is going to edge them in the game this weekend, but I think either way, it's going to be a good playoff for both teams. But yeah, I would rather face Arizona if it came down to it. So I'm going to say San Diego wins today. Probably somewhere around the 7 to 10 point range. I think it's going to be a closer game, but I think they're going to put their stamp on it late to seal it.
I will say this. In the Western Conference, that number 1 seed is susceptible to getting upset by the number 4. It's happened a couple of times. So you could still host that Western Conference championship if you want Arizona as that 2 versus 3 spot. But really quick, let's go through our picks here. We'll start with Krish. Take us through the 3 games and your 3 best bets.
Yeah, so I posted these online. I'm going to start posting my picks every week because, some people online want to question me. And,
let's go. Post the picks, baby. Come on.
Absolutely. Nah, man. Vegas minus 21.5, man. Like, if I lose money on Vegas this week, I'm not betting on them the rest of the year. I swear to God. Vegas minus 21.5. Orlando money line, Orlando plus 5.5. We don't lose in the O. We'll never lose in the O. It's our house. We have to protect our house on July 4th. Best home field advantage in the league. Arizona, San Diego. Give me San Diego to win this game. I think defense will have a big day for San Diego. Adam Anderson, Caleb Street, Roy Cease, the amazing players they got down there in San Diego. I like San Diego to win this game. So, San Diego. 100%.
DJ, hit me with your bets.
San Diego money line, Green Bay money line. And man, I never thought I'd have to be this nervous about it, but Vegas minus 21.5.
Trey, you're up, man.
I want you to know it pains me that I align with Krish on these picks. It absolutely pains me. I like Vegas to cover just because New Mexico has just struggled mightily on offense. And I think the only way this game doesn't cover is if Von Rucker gets the start for New Mexico and he just has quite a game against his former team. New Mexico hasn't given me anything to indicate that they would be even within 30 points of Vegas. So take the minus 21.5 there. For Orlando, I'd probably take the plus 5.5. I'm not going to go as far as the money line just because all the games in Orlando, or most of the games in Orlando, have been pretty close games. Like you look at the Fishers game last play, Tulsa last play. Like a lot of games came down to the wire against teams not at the bottom of the
overtime, no less.
And overtime, yeah, exactly, right. So I'd probably go with the plus 5.5. Kind of give me a little bit of a buffer there. That 98.5 is a little high, but again, both the offenses have been absolutely dynamic. So I might put a lean on that over as well. But then I love the San Diego money line at the same time. San Diego's just playing extremely well, and if they can continue to do what they're doing with with Feed Vander, giving him the ball in those short yardage situations. And Nate Davis has been able to really connect with his plethora of wide receivers and really distribute the ball very well. And shout out to Kyle Kelly last week, like unbelievable game, a passing touchdown, a rushing touchdown, and a kick return touchdown as a backup quarterback. Unbelievable. So yeah, Arizona's in a good spot to make a run in the playoffs, but I like San Diego in this one.
Yeah. Picks for me. I'm going under 85.5 just because I have mentioned this in group chats before. New Mexico just refuses to score points. Like they'll gain yards, but they just, anytime they get like across the 25 or towards the red zone, they're coughing the ball up. They're turning the ball over on downs. Like they'll gain yards, but more often than not, they're scoring even below 20 points, man. So this could be a game where Vegas could take their foot off the gas a little bit. And I think it's just going to be another under 85.5. Because again, one team's probably going to score 50, the other one's scoring 20, something like that. So go from there. I do like the minus 21.5, but Vegas has spurned me too many times. So approach with caution on that. Green Bay, Orlando, I'm taking your lean, Trey. I'm going over 98.5. I think both these offense, I mean, I know it's recency bias, but 83 points last week. Sure. Take my money. I don't care if it's a donation. I want to see points in this one. Give me some fireworks. We're destined for it this weekend anyways. Finally, Arizona and San Diego. I am with practically everyone here. San Diego money line. Why not? Arizona can put up a fight, but from everything that I've seen on that offense and defensive side of the ball for San Diego, I mean, there was one point where Krish said a couple weeks ago that San Diego only had 3 defensive linemen, and they still won the game. Like we talk about, stamina and freshness and trying to rotate players in and keep them healthy and ready to go, and San Diego just kind of throws caution to the wind with that, man. They'll throw only 3 offensive linemen out there, they'll throw only 3 defensive linemen out there, and it doesn't matter. They're still rattling off wins left and right. So are they a team of destiny? We'll find out. Otherwise, Arizona, they can give them a nice little wake-up call and ruin their undefeated streak at home. So that's where we have it with this one. Let's go ahead and transition over to the AAL. We have some expansion and stuff to talk about with them. And
one more thing with the IFL.
Go for it. Go for it.
You are. I did want to get you guys' thoughts on the playoff, picture. I know, we're at the kind of end point of the season here, but so we just wanted to show the standings. So obviously, you look at these and right now, I mean, I know it might be too early, but what are you guys' championship picks at this point, or who do you have kind of being that team that's gonna go all the way? Out of these
Northern Arizona versus Iowa. No, I'm just kidding. I mean, I'll start it off. I have yet to see San Diego. I mean, they've gotten to the Western Conference Championship the last 2 years. Is this the year they finally get over the hump, get to the championship game, and potentially lift the trophy? I'm not sure. But I'm still waiting with bated breath. I want them to prove me wrong before I can even believe any sort of hype, because it could be this year, in which I'll eat crow, perfectly fine with that. But Vegas, for all intents and purposes, they're going through their trials and tribulations. They could be status quo just like they were last year, man. I don't necessarily see Arizona. I mean, they can make a run, but I don't see Tucson or San Antonio really making any noise there in the West. So it'll be those 3 teams. As for the East, it's going to be hard to go against Green Bay. Now, Orlando and Tulsa, I mean, Tulsa's on a hell of a run right now, winning their last 6. Can they keep that momentum even if they drop another game or two? We'll see. Orlando's kind of in the same vein. I don't know if there's a clear-cut favorite. Everyone will point to Green Bay, but even they can be had. I mean, it's almost like we are on a collision course for either Green Bay versus San Diego or Green Bay versus Vegas. I mean, that's what the consensus would say, in my opinion. Oh, I'll throw it over to Trey since he unmuted his mic first.
Oh, perfect. Yeah. So there's one of the things that I love about this league is that when the playoff picture is established, there are 6 different outcomes where you're like, I could see that. Like, that's realistic. like you could talk yourself, like most leagues, it's either this team or this team. Let's just skip to the championship game. But the way this playoff picture is shaken out, it's just very exciting to see all the different matchups. I like the way Tulsa has been playing, and you look at the games that they dropped early in the season. They lost their 4 games by a combined 16 points. So they were in these games all the way. So, you flip the coin, one play goes a different direction. You're looking at a team that's possibly 11-2 right now, or 10-3, or however the math works out. So I like the way Tulsa's playing. I think their schedule has shaped up very nicely for them, where they get a Jacksonville team, and not this weekend, but the week after. That is kind of going through its own identity crisis. And then they got Quad City back-to-back weeks. So the way Tulsa's schedule is shaking out, I would not be surprised to see them leapfrog into the 2 seed and make a run to the championship game. So I like San Diego still in the West. I'm going to stick with my preseason prediction of San Diego making it to the championship, but then switch up the East over to Tulsa. So San Diego, Tulsa is what I see happening.
Really? All right. I like that. Krish, did you give your picks yet?
No, so obviously it's difficult for me, right? Because I'm biased. But I will say, my 2 teams right now from each conference, I could see, who are kind of on a heater. So for the West, I mean, like I said, I think Arizona could be San Diego or Vegas in the first round of the playoffs. I think they're that good, but that's only if they come together and play their ball, their best ball right now. Vegas, when they're fully healthy, they're the best team in the Western Conference. I'm just being completely honest, they're the best team. So I think the Western Conference championship will be Vegas, San Diego, and I think this is the year, man. I really think San Diego, can take it in advance, but it's really a coin flip. So give me San Diego, and for the East, I would say the 2 teams I would see in the
Go ahead. We're waiting.
No, honestly, though Tulsa's really good. I think it'll be Tulsa or us. Honestly, I really do.
I will say this really quick. Quad City's not out of it. What needs to happen is Tulsa needs to lose the rest of their games, including the 2 against Quad City. Quad City needs to win the rest of their games, and then they've got the head-to-head tiebreaker. They both finish 8-8. Quad City gets that 4 seed, and look out for those Steamwheelers, boys. They're going for it. I'm just kidding. It's going to be a really tough task for them to make the playoffs, but it is doable. They're not eliminated just yet. TJ, what are your thoughts? Are you going to have Vegas against Orlando so you can laugh in Krish's face, or you got something different?
I would love that, man, but if it goes the same way as the IFL Cup game did, that would be such a boring championship. So, I'll give that one up. No, honestly, I think it's going to be a rematch, man. It's going to be Vegas and Green Bay. It's probably going to come down to San Diego and Vegas on the West, and then Green Bay. I mean, I could see both. The problem is both Jacksonville and Orlando, they both play differently on the road. So what happens in a playoff game where they have to go on the road to play, that will probably be the deterrent. So Green Bay will probably get the vis-a-vis in. So I think it's going to be a rematch, and you never know what'll happen. Obviously, I want Vegas to go back-to-back, but we'll see.
Sam, do you want to give your picks at all?
No, we can go ahead and move on.
All right, we were going to transition over to the AAL.
All right, sounds good. In that case, let's go ahead and hit a quick commercial break. We'll be right back. And as anticipated, we will AL's and expansion that just recently happened. Yet another team announced before the 2027 season, and we'll discuss the championship game coming up as well. All right, so we've got a lot to talk about, and as discussed before, there has been an announcement for expansion for the 2027 season for AAL yet again. Their third such announcement before the championship game, which will take place next week between Wheeling and Columbus. So let's kind of dive into that a little bit. This has been a trend since the AAL has launched, that they have taken teams from the AAL2 and developed them into eventual professional franchises. So the Ohio Legends have made the announcement that they will be making the move to the AAL for the 2027 season. This was fairly anticipated. They had discussed their goals of eventually being a professional franchise and moving up to the AAL previously. They were one of the few teams that played in an actual arena with, turf and not in a soccerplex as far as the AAL2 goes. So let's kind of go. Let's discuss the merits of another AAL2 team moving up into the AAL, and we can discuss some of the advantages and disadvantages to that particular move. So, TJ, you happen to be prepared with your Columbus Lions hat there. So I'm going to go ahead and kick it over to you first. What were your thoughts when you heard the news that Ohio will now be making a move to the AAL?
I think it's great. It shows exactly the system that they wanted. It's just like back in the day with the AFL and AF2. Teams can move up within the system to the pro style league and have an easier pathway to get to that pro status. And the AL, I mean, they've made big strides this season. They are one of the few leagues, let's just be honest, that didn't have teams fold, didn't have teams just call it midseason. So they're on a great track. Now they're adding these teams successfully in their umbrella, if you will, system. It's exactly what you wanted. And in the future, if, they bring in a team to the AL, that team doesn't necessarily like the finances that costs, they can always drop down to the AL2. They stay in the overall, we'll say company, and they're able to continue it with the AL2 brand. So I really like it. It's exactly why the system mentally is developed. And I think it's showing great process and great progress with the AL and their thought process, and they're actually taking action to it.
Trey, any thoughts on this?
So I'm going to be honest with you guys. AAL and AAL2, this is a blind spot for me, so I don't really have a ton to contribute. So I'll sit back and enjoy the conversation.
Fair point. Cody?
So expanding over to Ohio, you're getting another team kind of in the northern area to go along with Wheeling and Jersey. And then you now have expansion teams with Texas and Montgomery. So you've almost doubled your entire league in the matter of an off season. So that's actually a really good thing to think about. And we've talked about this in multiple episodes that, where is the lack of parity in this? Wheeling and Columbus, Wheeling and Columbus, Columbus and Wheeling. We've always talked about that. And now you have added 3 more teams to the fray, where you're going to add a little bit more parity, which means you're going to dilute the talent pool a little bit more. Some players are going to get paid in different places, and that means that you're going to have to travel. Now, those travel costs are going to get a little bit bigger because of where these teams are at and the travel. But at the same time, you're going to allow for more teams to be better suited. So you're not going to get these 30, 40-point trouncings. They'll still happen, but it'll be probably fewer and far between because you're going to have more talent spread around the entire league. So for an overall thing, it's a really good thing. The finances and everything on the back end of it when it comes to moving up from AAL2 or anything like that, that remains to be seen. So I'll be curious to see how that goes. On a joking side, you lose a team for the draft.
Something tells me that won't be too much of a concern come 2027, but we'll see how the overall plan for the 2 leagues unfold. But Krish, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, so, for me, I have 2 thoughts on this, right? Obviously, look, Ohio Legends, they've been a semi-pro team here for a minute. Their setup is not ideal, but I'm sure they'll improve to be able to make the jump to the professional level. A lot of these teams, when they have success at the semi-pro level, they come up to the professional league thinking that they can just keep the same players. I mean, just ask AJ Roque in Jersey. He'll tell you firsthand, right? Like, he thought he could keep all the same guys. He lost by 27 points in the playoffs. So, it's a different level. Mississippi was the same way. So Ohio will come in the league. They'll be like, oh my God, we got all these great players, and then they'll just get destroyed by Columbus. Same thing with the Texas Wildhogs. I respect Quentin Humphreys down there. He's going to get destroyed by 50, 60 points by Columbus Lions. So there's levels to this, and these new teams need to learn and respect that there are levels to this. And so Wheeling and Columbus will continue to run this league for next year and years to come. So that's just the way it is. I think Montgomery will be more competitive than these two teams, than Texas or Ohio, by a long shot, in my opinion.
Okay, why do you think that?
Because I think Montgomery is starting from scratch. So they had an opportunity to sit back and not experience any success at any level. So they're able to watch from afar. So they're like, okay, this is what works, this is what doesn't. These new teams, they've already done it. They've already experienced winning, even though it's at a lower level. So they think their way is going to work. You see what I'm saying?
That's an interesting take.
Texas, right? Quentin Humphreys, he's coached in the American Arena League before, right? He was in the championship with the San Antonio Gunslingers when they first started. So he's had that success.
I don't hate that take. That's a pretty good take.
Yeah, I know. There's definitely.
I love giving Krish hell, but that's I see where he's coming from.
Yeah, 100%. 100%. That's an interesting take for sure. Now, out of curiosity, you don't view, in particular, Quentin Humphreys' success in the AL previously as like a positive for him?
100%, but he's not coaching, right? I thought he was going to be coaching, but he decided not to. He wants to run the business side. So he hired one of his homeboys from semi-pro to coach the team. And, it's just, we'll see how that goes.
Interesting. Okay. All right. Fair point. No, but I'm curious, TJ, what are your thoughts on what Krish just said? Do you think Montgomery's better suited for success in 2027?
Hey, Coach Q, if you're watching, man, don't have your friend come after me like last time. I know you like the screenshot messages, but don't do that this time.
I mean, watching the sport for as long as I have, I mean, you obviously being around already as opposed to being a brand new team, in theory that helps, but it really all depends on what happens when the season starts. You hit the field and you see what happens. I've seen teams that have been around on and off for a decade come in and have a 2-win season. I've seen brand new teams go and get to the championship game. It really just depends on what the process is once you actually start in season that year. Do I think that they are way ahead? I think they have on paper and in theory, yes, they have an advantage, but I don't think it's a foregone conclusion that one's going to be way better or not just because of their past. I mean, you every year you go into any sport saying last year was last year, this year's a new year, we're starting fresh from zero. So, I mean, if you're using that kind of mentality, you're all in the same playing field. It just depends on how you execute and what guys you bring in.
See, and the problem is we live in a world, and I appreciate Coach Key, I'm messing with you, but I appreciate you watching the show. Like Cody, Off the Wall, all these people, right? They think everyone can win, a championship. Every team in the league can win a championship. And it just doesn't work like that, man. There's only one team at the end. That's how sports work. I'm sorry to break it to you. You guys have a long way to go.
Come on now, Krish. Come on. You take the ricochet shots at other people that can't defend themselves now, but we're here on the mic. You can't be getting that reckless.
I'm not even sure what to say about that, Krish. That was kind of funny. Oh man, that's hilarious. Too funny. Cody, so I'm curious about your thoughts, man. Do you believe that Montgomery's better suited for success in 2027 than maybe Texas or Ohio, given their background?
I mean, just given the background, probably not, to be brutally honest, to go along with Krish's hot take. Yeah, there are teams that probably won't win a championship in their first year or anything like that. But again, until you figure out coaching staff, roster, games, injuries, there are so many variables that can happen that we literally just discussed it in the IFL segment. And I mean, myself included, people were putting Quad City in the championship. Look where they're at. People were putting Arizona, like myself, in the championship. Look where they're at. So, I mean, things happen. So I can't say for certain, like, oh, Texas isn't set up or Ohio isn't set up. They very well could be. And all it could take is an injury to Columbus's quarterback or their running or something like that, where it's suddenly they're losing a couple of games. Look at Vegas in the IFL losing a couple of games. Jacksonville losing a couple of games. It's just, we don't know. So I can't say for certain. I don't like sitting on the fence like that. But yeah, to Krish's credit, yes, there are some teams that will not sniff a championship. On the other end, it only takes a couple of things for another team to get things going. I mean, they're 1-year contracts. We're not locked down 3, 4, 5 years where you're the Cleveland Browns of the Indoor Football League. You choose to be the Cleveland Browns of the Indoor Football League or any other league or whatever because of that. So teach their own.
And in no disrespect to Texas or anything, obviously, like I said, he made a championship, but like, why is he not coaching the team? Is my thing. Because I feel like they would be so much better if he was coaching the team. But that's my opinion. You have my number. You can call me at the show. That's it. So, it's nothing personal. It's my opinion, and it's right. So
We'll go right to voicemail, but you can call him.
He will quickly shuffle away. So on that note, for Cody, speaking of which, I really like that comment that you made. You choose to be the Cleveland Browns of the league. So out of curiosity, I mean, we're sitting here looking at the scheme of the league right now, and obviously Columbus right now feels like the favorite going into the championship game. Right. But I mean, when you're looking at the surface, I can kind of see why Krish is saying what he's saying about Montgomery, because Montgomery just feels and I don't mean any disrespect to either of the other teams, but they feel like their approach currently is a little bit more polished. And I guess I could see how Krish could see that transitioning to the field.
Right.
So as far as that goes, it's going to be interesting to see how all of these teams approach roster building. I mean, once we really get into free agency and, them starting to sign players, I think we'll have a lot better picture of who's going to be talented, who's going to be competitive in 2027. So, I mean, all of this is kind of hyperbole at the moment without, more context behind it. So,
I mean, not to cut you off, man, but you can equate this kind of like the AF1, where Wheeling and Columbus are kind of your Albany and Nashville, and then you kind of have the teams below it. So it's just, you can go along that. But again, that's the best like equation or like equate I can do to it, because we don't know until these other 3 teams take the field. You can kind of only go off the 4-team season that we just had, which, they're blowouts. There's not a lot of parity because some teams have more funding than the others. Now, again, some people just don't have the funding. Some people do have the funding and choose not to use it, in which case my quote stands. You choose to be the Cleveland Browns. If you have the money and you want to spend it, spend it. If you don't want to spend it or you don't have the money to spend it, sorry, but that hopefully you're making your money back, man. And that's not a shot just at like the AL, but that's any league. Like if you have the money and you want to do it, you want to win championships, go for it.
Now, this opens up an interesting conversation because obviously, we always hear about salary caps and stuff. So if there's a salary cap, like, obviously you should think that there's only so far you can go in terms of, the level of competition difference. So are we really saying that there is really no amount of coaching that can overcome, maybe a pay gap?
Not what I'm saying at all. There's definitely coaching that can go along with it, depending on who you hire and the schemes and everything with it. To go along with the salary cap, that doesn't exist in the NFL, no matter how much they want to tell you. So they'll defer those payments and everything like that. So let's call a spade here. Even if the salary cap is real in any of these indoor leagues, hint, hint, wink, wink. It's just it comes down to coaching. It comes down to the players, where the players want to go, everything like that. How good of a recruiter the coaches are, the resources you're able to put in, the funding you're able to put in, and everything like that. So again, there's a lot of variables when it comes down to it.
I would agree. And I think that's why I mean, to Krish's credit, he kind of opened this segment with a little bit of a fiery statement. He said, a lot of content creators believe that, any team can win a championship at any given time. And I don't think that's necessary.
Yeah, I think I'm going to add Lobo to that list now. I think he thinks everything can win a championship.
I don't know that. I think Lobo was kind of more.
To counter Krish here, let's go back a few years. Northern Arizona, they win the championship. What was their record the year before?
1-15.
Bay Area wins the championship. What was their record the year before?
1-15.
So there is some truth to the element where year over year anything can happen, but it all comes down to that coaching, right?
We won't talk about the constant between those two teams that went, worst to first. There might be a specific name on those coaching rosters there.
An honest name.
Oh, man.
Rod Windsor. Boom.
Actually, was Windsor on that team?
Windsor was on Bay Area and Northern Arizona, same with Les Moss and Rob Keefe, if I'm not mistaken.
I thought that came the year after they won the championship.
Mm-hmm.
When Wooten left for Fishers.
Yeah, it was one more. Yeah.
Was it?
It's Rob Keefe. So. We're talking about Rob Keefe.
I know.
Yeah, it's Rob Keefe.
I don't want to have Trey's back, but I don't have Krish's back, but I do want to make jokes too.
That's fair. That's fair for sure. Look, speaking of which, I love this. There's some trash talk going on in the comments right here. So AJ Roque checking in says good morning, and then Nicole. AJ Roque is scared about next season. And Nicole, whether people know or not, is involved with the Montgomery team. So kind of giving you a little bit of insight into how this league is going to go in some of the fun behind the scenes. But Roger says, we will be happy to discuss league and expansion process anytime. We are here to make teams successful, not looking to add to the coffers of the league. And I don't think that's what anybody's saying here, Roger. I mean, I don't think we're saying that you're trying to just add numbers to the league. We're quite literally what Krish is saying is there's levels, right? That an expansion team may not necessarily be suited to have the same success as a team that's been around for 20 years like Columbus, or, even 5 years like Wheeling. You guys are established, you've been around, stuff like that. So I think he also is saying that there's a different approach from a team that has been an established semi-professional or developmental team going professional. So I think there's just some levels, some nuance to the way you guys do expansion, because it's not typical for most other leagues. Not saying it's a bad way to do it. I actually think it's a good way to do it, which we've talked about multiple times here. But I think it's also just different. So there's many different caveats to the way you look at it.
And just to be real, I'm just gonna be honest here too. No player from Columbus is gonna leave to go to the Bearcats or the Wolfpack. That's just not happening. So they have to do a better job about building the local kind of pool of players that they have. Like Columbus has done a good job of.
Yeah, I think things will grow and get better over time, of course. So there we go. Rod Windsor wasn't with Bay Area in 23. Not important. So that kind of clarifies.
He was there in spirit.
He was there in spirit, which explains everything you need to know about the 2023 season for the Northern Arizona Wranglers, and why it, tanked right back down to reality there. So anyway, let's go ahead and talk a little bit about the championship game. Obviously, I don't want to spend a ton of time on it because we still have next week to talk about it as well. So obviously, it has broken down to what most people expected would ultimately be that the outcome. Columbus will face Wheeling. However, it is in technically what was billed as potentially being a neutral site, that it will be in Wheeling. So despite the fact that Wheeling is technically the 2 seed in the league, they're hosting the game, and Columbus will travel to Wheeling. They are going to be obviously very well traveled. We talked about it. Just last week, Columbus had chartered a bus for fans that was free to attend. So basically, fans are giving out a $10 deposit. As soon as they board the bus, they get a refund on that deposit, or it goes to their ticket. I completely forget the entire terms there. But regardless, they have filled that bus. So they're going to at least have one full bus of people going up to the Wheeling game. And that's not counting anybody else who might make the trip independently. So, I'm sorry, 3 buses now. Wow. Talk about busing in a home field advantage. So that's awesome. Like I said, I've seen a lot of teams do the travel buses, and this is something that I wanted to point out, but I've never seen them done for free. So, I mean, obviously there's a lot of experience on this panel here. Have you guys seen that from any other league or team?
I mean, we just talked with Matt earlier in the game that Salina had their party bus come down to Southwest Kansas, but that was just one. That was it.
Right, and I think that was also a paid situation to where they had to kind of chip in something for the actual travel of the bus as well. But Quentin says, I look at it like this. If anyone wanted to know why I'm not coaching and I took on the ownership mindset, we can talk about it. Now, when it comes to my head coach, we choose may want to do research on him because he was not a home buy, but a phenomenal football player in the league when we played. Well, Quentin, for the record, I mean, we have a standing invitation for you to come on whenever you are ready and have the time to make it. So we would love to have you on to discuss all of those decisions. So one more comment here, and then we'll go ahead and move on. But Nicole says, tell AJ it's no need to book his arena for next season championship game. So is this an indicator, Nicole? Is this you telling us that we won't have a neutral site championship game in 2027? If so, blink twice. With that being said, we're going to hit a quick commercial break. We'll come right back. We'll talk about the TAL and the AF1, and then we'll
we got to get a championship pick, so I know it's a week early.
I was going to save championship picks.
I need to hear what Trey's championship pick is, because he knows all the leagues, from the back of his hand. So
where were you for the entrance to the AAL?
Where have you been, Krish? We run a good show. You should listen to us sometime.
Hey, so can I just say one thing really quick?
Yeah.
They're going to get 3 buses to travel all the way to Wheeling. But what happens in a couple of weeks when the Wheeling Nailers have a preseason game and they have to reschedule it?
Oh, Lord.
I'm just messing around.
Oh, Cody's on his trolls. Oh, yeah.
All I know for sure is if a team in any sport local to my area basically said we will bus you for free to the championship game and you get to watch us play and possibly celebrate, dude, that's how you make fans for life. I'm just saying that was a genius move.
100%.
Everything they've done this season, Pastor, coming out and performing last week, Roger Bet running up and down the sideline with the belt. They had a, packed out, arena. I mean, they're doing great things down there. And I will be very, very disappointed if Wheeling doesn't win the championship, because this is the 3rd time they played each other, and to lose to the same team 3 times would be embarrassing. So,
hey, where have we heard that recently? Just wondering.
Couldn't be in the NAL.
Certainly was not the NAL. Quentin says he took on the same philosophy of what I wanted to bring to a football team. He's not the pick that everyone would have chose to have or bring in. And, there's nothing wrong with that. You're the owner, so you have to feel comfortable with who you hire as your coach. And if you feel that his philosophy matches yours, that's what it's about. So hopefully, that works out for you guys and whatnot. But like I said, we're going to hit a quick commercial break. TJ, I know you have to get out of here, man. Thank you for your time this morning. Who's your pick for the championship game?
Come on.
All right. So I kind of figured you were leaning that way. Krish, you said Wheeling?
No, Columbus. Columbus is winning, but I'm just saying I would be disappointed if I was, part of the organization of Wheeling to lose the championship.
Okay. And then Trey, do you want to give a pick, or do you want to kind of defer?
Like I said, this is a blind spot for me. I'm not going to pretend to know everything about AAL like some folks, but I'm gonna set this one up.
Yeah.
I love that. Bree, no, that must be a great partnership or just a really dedicated owner. Either way, I think Columbus does things a little bit differently. Cody, who's your pick for the championship one?
I mean, round it all out for Columbus, man. I mean, it's kind of a team of destiny in a sense of like we've already beaten Wheeling twice. Can you beat them 3 times? Everything that's gone their way has gone their way. So,
all right, just to be a contrarian, I'm going to pick Wheeling. Come on, Wheeling. Got to make it competitive at least. No, I think this is going to be
Wheeling loses, Sam will shave his head.
All right.
Sam
Sure.
just saved the graphic.
For a haircut?
Yeah, definitely. I'm ready for a haircut anyway, so I'll shave my head if Wheeling loses. Why not? Why not? You guys might even get a video out of it. Who knows? But yeah, no, honestly, I think it's going to be a great game, right? The same thing we said about the NAL championship game, in the fact that those two teams are very closely matched. Every game they play is very, very closely contested. I correct me if I'm wrong, but I think the total win percent, or the total point differential in the two previous games with Wheeling Columbus was like 3 points. So I mean, this is going to be a great game. I mean, if you wanted to see the two premier teams in the league face off, I mean, what better way to do it? And on top of that, you get a double header. So that's one thing that we have not talked about yet. And we'll take a couple more minutes before we move on. But the AAL2 championship will be kicking off about 1 p.m. And then anybody who purchases a ticket to either the AAL2 championship or the AAL championship will get a entrance to both. So the AAL championship takes place at 7 p.m. The AAL2 championship kind of serves as a lead into that game. So you get a championship doubleheader. You get to attend both games. I think really, as a league, if you were going to do a neutral site championship game, this was the best possible way to get as many people there as possible. So what are you guys' thoughts on the doubleheader before we move on? I apologize. TJ?
Yeah, I like it, man. More football, the merrier, right? You get to see the AL2 and the AL championship. Why not?
Right, for sure. Cody, any thoughts?
It's a good promotion. I mean, it's really nice to have a double header, and honestly, it's a good thing to be like, hey, look at the lower division that we have and the potential stars that could rise up from AAL2 and whatever draft or anything like that, all the way up to the AAL of, hey, now you get to watch the big boys play. So it's a really cool idea. I kind of enjoy it.
Krish, any thoughts?
On the doubleheader, yeah, I think it's good. I think it gives the AL2 players exposure. To be able to play on the big arena, and I think it's exciting. And I would love if there was an announcement of one of the AL2 teams playing the championship, moving up to the AL. Like, imagine if they won the championship and then they're like, "Oh, you guys are moving up now too." That'd be cool.
The 95 South boys will be performing at halftime as well. Krish, I'm sure you know all about the 95 South boys. It's I had a feeling that was the reaction I would get. It's 90s night, so that'll give you a little bit of a hint where the music came from. So,
and if Roger Beckin's getting the halftime show, which obviously he's the one that set it up, because I think he's the only one with those high level connections, to be honest. It's going to be good. All the halftime shows they've had in Columbus were amazing all year long, so it'll be good.
I will say that the team in Columbus, in terms of booking halftime shows and whatnot, have been unrivaled in any league this year, quite frankly. So my hat's off to both of those gentlemen, Roger and Corey, there in Columbus. But we're going to go ahead and move on. We will hit a quick commercial break. We'll move on to the AF1, and then we'll close it up with the TAL, since there's quite a bit to talk about them today. Just completely throw you guys off with the lineup today. So quick commercial break, and then we'll be back. TJ, thank you for joining us this morning. Really appreciate your time, man. I know you got some stuff going on. So any quick moments or any quick words for the fans before you get out of here?
Hey, man, everybody be safe. Enjoy the football. And if you're going to light fireworks, be extra careful. You don't want to end up like the Giants player.
I assume you mean Jason Pierre-Paul from a couple years ago?
Yeah.
Awesome. On that note, we will catch you guys in the next segment. So, TJ, have a great weekend, man. Thank you for joining us, and we appreciate you.
Like three or four times, maybe.
I gotta pump those numbers up. Those are rookie numbers in this racket.
That's right. If you haven't shared this yet, please go do so right away. We appreciate everybody who hits the like button, comments, shares, follows, does all that fun stuff because it's really important to the growth of this channel. And trust me, we notice every single time the follower count and the like and all that stuff goes up. So we really appreciate all you guys' support. Just wanted to say that everybody who's on this panel is here for a reason. We respect everybody's knowledge. And I would say that if they have the wherewithal to say that they are not willing to comment on a league because they don't have the knowledge, you should respect that as well. That's all I'm saying. I know we've got some supporters in the chat. Really appreciate you guys for being here this morning. But definitely do not want to necessarily be calling out people on the show who are taking time out of their 4th of July to be here to talk indoor football with us. So Trey, thank you once again for your time this morning, man. Really appreciate you being here. But let's talk about some AF1. Let me pull up my topics here.
Oh, Krish is chomping at the bit. Look at that
He
little
really
grin on
is.
his face. He is
No,
so
I
excited.
thought you were about to log off, Trey. I'm not gonna lie. I thought you were about to
No,
log off.
I'm here. I'm hanging out.
No, he's got to defend his Malik Henry takes, of course.
Yeah, I don't duck smoke. I embrace it. Come on.
So, well, with that being said, the topic that I wanted to start with, of course, is that last week we posed a question to the fans, and that was, who is more dangerous, Michigan or Washington? I believe I was the only one on the panel that picked Washington, and I have since. So let's go ahead and go around the horn here real quick. And Krish, I'll give you a chance to open this up. You're a big Malik Henry fan, supporter. You have been talking about him all season long, and he came out and not only won the game, he had probably one of the best performances by any quarterback on any team this season.
Yeah, I mean, I think a lot of people overshadow Malik's performance with the show, with that dumb TV show that, depicts his character when he was 17, right? He's a different person now. You talk to any of his teammates, you talk to him, Malik's a great person, and his stats back him up. The narrative is different when people talk about him versus when they talk about Coca and Casanova and all of them. Like, Malik has thrown 55 touchdowns this season for a reason, right? He's a baller, man. And I think every week he gets better and better and better and more comfortable with his receivers. And he doesn't have the O-line that Nashville has. He doesn't have the O-line that Albany has, but he may do with his O-line. And they haven't made very many changes to the roster in Michigan, but they've been able to go win some big games. That's why I support him, because I think he's done it. He's done more with less. So, and he's MVP for a reason.
I'm sorry, MVP?
MVP of the league. I mean, why wouldn't he lead the league in passing yards and touchdowns by a good amount?
All right. That's a bold claim. All right, let's go to Trey. Trey, what are your thoughts on Malik Henry's performance?
So this is not going to go the way Krish thinks it will. Malik Henry has been unbelievable the past couple of weeks, and he has improved dramatically, and so has this team from the very beginning of the season. I was tough on him. I was tough on the Arsenal early on because it wasn't passing the eye test for me, where there was a lot of things where, like, you look at a couple of the games. I think he had a game where he was 13 for 36, but those 13 passes were for 185 yards and 4 touchdowns, right? So it was something where box score wise, he threw 4 touchdown passes, but then, watching the game and getting a feel for the game, he was kind of putting the team in some bad situations as well. But he has just dramatically improved. And I think that that improvement has come with the experience of this very young, as a whole, Michigan Arsenal roster, where they have some veterans and some in some key places, but they have a lot of folks that are playing arena ball for the very first time, and it's taken a little bit for them to get into a rhythm. And speaking on that O-line, the O-line has gotten a lot better as the season progressed. So this Michigan team is trending in the right direction. And like I said, I know I was tough on Malik at the beginning of the year, but he has just been unbelievable the past month or so.
Agreed. I mean, what was it? 9 touchdowns, 330 plus yards, if I'm not mistaken. Hell of a performance by Malik Henry.
Yeah, he was taking the short stuff when it was there. Liotta was calling up some really great play design to get the ball out of his hands quick, so he's not doing 5-7 step drops every single time he has the ball. He was stepping into a lot of his throws, which is a vast improvement from what we were seeing early on. So yeah, Malik has just been unbelievable, and I don't think Krish's MVP take is that far off. I think if they can get into the playoffs and potentially steal a game, I think it's a very realistic possibility.
No, that's completely fair, honestly. And there's a reason why, if you look at the leaderboard right now, there's, I think, 3 different receivers from Michigan in the top 10 in receiving yards. Malik Henry's been balling out, and he's a really good fit for that Liotta offense. They obviously want to go bombs away and throw the ball quite a bit. So it definitely seems like it's paid off with Dan Williams, Trey Long, and Jairus Grissom there. So, Cody, any thoughts on Michigan versus Washington?
Yeah, I think I'd said Michigan was going to win and that they were the more dangerous team, and they did just that. So, going to toot my horn a little bit because I picked the right winner. But no, it was Player of the Week honors, and I don't really know. I just, there's still work to be done. I would consider Malik Henry a finalist for an MVP. I don't know if he is the front runner for it yet, but I could definitely see him in that category, kind of like what Trey mentioned. It's still a little bit of a road to get me to go to that route, but with the great play that we have been seeing lately, not just from Malik Henry, but through across the board in the AF1, it's been a sight to behold.
Definitely. Krish, any more thoughts on Michigan versus Washington before we move on?
No, I mean, look, J.R. Wells, he tries to sell his program as this big deal. And look, they've gotten better this year, right? But who have they played? They played one good team all season. And, and they beat one good team all season. We saw a lot last 2 weeks with Nashville and Nashville and Michigan, they ran through them in their house. And so it says a lot. And my problem with JR is he takes no accountability at all. You listen to any of his shows, he's like, man, we're the better team. We're this, we're that. I'm done with all the hype. I'm done with all the hype speeches, lock in, step in the box, and fucking coach football. That's what you're paid to do. And you can't do that against big teams. You can't make in-game adjustments, and it shows. It shows on the field. So I'm done. And this is the industry-wide. Industry-wide, a lot of these coaches, man, they pop their shit so much, and then it comes game day, and it's like, where's that at?
So, Krish, if you were to have 3 MVP finalists, who would they be for the F1 so far this season?
F1, Malik, Tyler Coca, and
Rudy.
There's no chance Krish is going to say that name.
No chance at all. I mean, you can't give MVP to a receiver. I mean, they wouldn't have done that last year. But I would maybe Darren Townsend. I would say, yeah.
That's fair. Yeah, I think the only thing that kind of works against Malik's MVP case is because you look at quarterbacks across the league, there's only 2 teams that have had a consistent quarterback the entire year. And that's Nashville and that's Michigan. So when you look at the race for, leading the league in touchdown passes, it's going to be one of those 2 guys, right? Because they're the only ones who have started and played 10 or 11 games at this point. But for Kolka, he's thrown 150 less passes, but he's only thrown 10 less touchdowns, right? So I think that's where Malik's case, it's kind of like a Big 12 Texas Tech quarterback back in the day. They throw the ball 75 times. Of course, they're going to lead the league in passing. That doesn't necessarily mean
it's okay.
Yeah. Old Patty. But that doesn't necessarily mean that they're the Heisman winner either, right? So I think it's probably going to come down to Henry or Kolka.
I think that's a fair assessment. Henry's done obviously wonders despite the fact that his offensive line hasn't played pretty well. And I mean, I think if you take that into factor and you put Henry on a team like Nashville, I mean, what would his numbers look like? Probably a lot more impressive, to be honest. They've got a much better offensive line there, or have for the whole season anyway. But that's an interesting conversation to have for another day, I'm sure. But any other thoughts on well, not any other thoughts, but any thoughts on the other game of the weekend, Beaumont getting blown out by Nashville? Let's go to Krish first on this one.
Yeah, I think Solo thought he could come into Beaumont and, wave his magic wand and solve all the issues, and it just hasn't happened, unfortunately. Solo's a great coach, but coaching 2 styles of football in one season is a lot. It's too much for anyone. And, he's learning the hard way, unfortunately. But Robinson, I love Robinson. I love his game. He's just not an arena-style quarterback at all. And so until they can get someone who can go under center and make those big throws, it's going to be the same thing every time. Beaumont has a very talented roster. If you go up and down the page, they should be one of the most talented teams in the league. Look at the team that they have, right? Drake Kirkwood from UCLA, Asides Candy, who won Defense Player in the NAL, like JD Griggs, all these guys they have, and they still can't figure out a way to pull through. So it's disappointing to see in Beaumont. And they have a lot of money trouble as well.
That is definitely.
I can't wait to talk about Kentucky, man. Oh my God, I've been hearing some crazy things.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff being said about Kentucky as well. But I wanted to throw something out there about the Cats specifically. In their last 3 games, 78 points versus Albany, 72 points versus Beaumont, and then last night against Washington, they put up 68 points. So, are we watching the Cats kind of really hit their stride here right in time for the playoffs? Are they all of a sudden the top team in the AF1? Or do we still think Albany has a chance to unseat them in the playoffs? Let's go to Trey first on that one.
Well, I think the way Nashville's playing, like they are starting to peak at the absolute right time. And one of the things that I think is, oh man, we're just rolling off the Texas Tech quarterbacks, huh? I think one of the things that's scary about this Nashville run is that, you look at the box scores, Kolka didn't really pop off in very, the way we saw him do early in the year. A couple weeks ago against Albany, Malik Honeycutt had 3 kickoff return touchdowns? Were they in a row? So the offense wasn't doing all the heavy lifting. The defense was contributing. The special teams has been unbelievable. Kyle Kaplan has been great. They're getting that production from all 3 phases. And I think they almost have the 1 seed locked in if they don't already. Not sure how the math on that is working out, but if the road to the Arena Crown goes through Clarksville, that's a good building, and that's a tough venue for opposing teams to come in and play at.
So just based off win percentage alone, they're 10-1 after last night. Albany's 8-2. So I think technically, the Cats have all but clinched. I think essentially next week they would for sure clinch first seed.
Yeah, I think Albany would have to outscore them by 90 or something in order for them to leapfrog based on tiebreakers.
I'd have to look a little bit closer. I have not spent a lot of time looking at the playoff picture yet. Krish, any thoughts on that? Do you think Albany can still compete?
Man, my thing is, again, the team that wins the championship, the healthiest team, and Albany's injured right now. So going into the next game, they're calling it like Jeff Levac and them calling it the biggest game of the season. It's not, So I would play Castanova for the first half, and then I would sit in the rest of the game. There's no need. Number 1 and number 2 doesn't make a difference. It's still a top 2 seed in the playoffs. Let Nashville get the number 1 seed and play them when you play them in the championship. So don't try to go too hard in a regular season game. You got bigger things to worry about in the playoffs. I think these 2 teams are primed to meet each other in the championship, but I think Nashville has done a great job. People don't realize Darren Arbeck turned over his whole coaching staff, right? Entire coaching staff. He only retained Kerry Laughlin. That was the only coach he retained, right? He got rid of Anthony Payton, our offense coordinator. He got rid of Terry Foster, defense coordinator. He brought in Steve Pappin, one of his former players with the San Jose SaberCats, right? One of the best receivers of all time to play for that franchise. And then he brought in Sergio Gillum, my boy, for OG defensive coordinator for the Pirates, played at Clemson, really, really good DB in the AFL. So He's doing a great job with that defense. So it says a lot about Coach Arvet, and I think Coach Arvet is honestly the front runner to win Coach of the Year.
Interesting. That would be an interesting move. I mean,
I would put Sean Lyota in that conversation too. But I look at what Arvet had done, man. I mean, he continues to do.
That's fair. And if you are looking at it through the lens of him completely turning over his coaching staff, like you just mentioned, and then having the success that he did last year and this year, you kind of have to consider that, I think.
But then there's the idea that Lyota left his brother on the side of the street and fired him, and he took over the defense. So
I don't know that that's necessarily what I've heard about that situation.
Side of the street is crazy.
Yeah, I don't think he just left his brother. Let's put that. Kansas City Command legend. Speaking of Kansas City, Dorsey Golston checking in. Appreciate you being here, Coach. I hope you're enjoying the league-wide bye. Cody, any thoughts on that? Nashville versus Albany. Do you see a situation where Albany still is very competitive despite the injuries?
Stick a fork in them. They're done. No, it's still going to be a competitive battle, man. Like health, attrition, all of that. Yeah, it's a huge factor in it, but it's going to sound bad, but that's such a small roster for both teams. Like league wide, you're only 25 players, less than that. So yeah, you got to plug and play some guys. And just because like one player is out doesn't make it's a team sport. So you do put a little bit into it, but it's still going to be a competitive battle unless there's literally something where either team catches the other one off guard and is able to exploit it, which is the name of the game. I still think this is easily like anywhere from 3 to 10 points between the two teams, and it can swing out either way.
Fair point. Just looking at the playoff picture a little bit closer while we were talking here, Firebirds have 2 more games left. Cats only have 1. Their final game is between the two teams. So currently there is a 146-point gap between the two teams. Nashville is very, 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 very high in the lead there. So basically, it would be near impossible for Albany to leapfrog Nashville in any situation, it looks like. So if Nashville loses out, they lose to the Firebirds, they would be 10-2 at that point. Albany would have to win out to be 10-2. And then at that point, it goes to points 4. And as we just mentioned, we've got 140-some point gap. So unless Nashville doesn't score any points over the next 2 weeks, there's a pretty good chance that they have already clinched the first seed. It's not completely official, but it's basically official. So any other thoughts on the AF1 before we move on? Any big transactions?
Kentucky, man. I've heard it from so many people. Let's just spell it. They're having money trouble. Guys haven't been paid in 2 weeks. Some of them guys hit up, some people I know and said they haven't been paid in 2 weeks, and they're looking for players, and it's just a sad thing to see because we thought Kentucky was one of the most stable teams in the league. So I'll ask you guys, what do you think about the AF1 this season from a business perspective? Would you consider it a success or a failure?
It's hard to completely quantify that answer right now because the season's not over.
What's your definition of success and failure, Krish?
Yeah, smooth operation from across the board, right? All member teams, contributing to the league and the overall success, and the sustainability would be my biggest thing.
So let me answer your question with another question. Would you consider the NAL season a failure or a success?
Success.
So then by proxy, you'd probably have to say success so far with the AF1, even if Oregon's gone, but they're still able to limp teams to the finish line if Kentucky finishes out the season, correct? Because you'd have to say the same thing about the Dallas Bulls folding midseason, but still having all the other NAL teams finish.
True, but look at Oregon, they folded, and Oceanside is filled with semi-pro players now. Beaumont's having money and Kentucky's having money. So I see what you mean, though. It's they're different levels of success. The NAL season was a minor, to medium success. But what level of success is that?
I can agree to that to an extent of I would grant this season a success of not just Like, we had a hell of a season, more of a success of, I can't believe we had that season, in that realm of like, how the hell do we get these teams to finish? With all the rumors and everything that's gone on, and you only lost one team, it's more of like that sense of relief, dare I say, of like, I can't believe we finished that season, going all the way back to the AFL season with Louisiana and Philadelphia and all of that stuff that's kind of plagued this league. I know it was a different league, but at the same time, that's gone on in these last couple of years throughout some of these teams.
Yeah, I think it's hard to do a pass fail on it because there are some really good things that happened for the AF1 this year, but then there's also some things that, you probably wish didn't happen. So I think a grading scale would probably be a little bit more appropriate. I think it's probably in the C+ range. If we're trying to be fair with it, considering the growth that we've seen with some of the social stuff, some of the on-field product itself has drastically improved from last year. So I think there are some really good things to take away, but I think the demerit for them is, what do we hear about all off season and at halftime of this and that? The ownership groups. They're great. They're fantastic. And it's like, it seems like they're repeating some of the same mistakes from the past. So there's some good, there's some bad, but keep in mind this is year 2 of the org, and it seems like a cop-out answer, but there are some growing pains with it, even though you do have all that experience in the room with them. So this next offseason is going to be extremely interesting for this league.
It's just really interesting because it's like, like you said, Trey, you hear it right on the nail. You hear it from Albany's ownership, Quarter specifically. The way he sits there and said, we're the number 1 league, we have great owners, every Oceanside is stable, all these teams, and they're not. That's just a lie. So the AF1 as a league needs to look in the mirror and kind of realize where they're at. It's a turn.
Quick aside, some news has just broken, and this is not ever the kind of news that we want to break on the show, but Dr. Cornelius Hudson, the owner of the Dallas Bulls, has passed away. So I'm take a brief moment of silence for Dr. Hudson. Regardless of how we may feel about him as a team owner, him passing away is obviously not a positive thing for anybody. So quick moment of silence for Dr. Hudson, and we'll continue on with the show. Once again, our condolences to Dr. Cornelius Hudson's family and to everybody close to him. I'm sure it's not an easy time to deal with. But as far as that goes, I think if you're looking at the AF1 right now, my big question with them, I mean, if we're really looking at a pass-fail scale, in my mind, I have to see the full picture. So I need to see the full season. Do some of these teams go away before the end of the season? Do they manage to make it all the way through with all of these teams? If the rest of the teams that are in the league right now finish, I think I have to be somewhere in the C range. But I also, I'd almost want to reserve my answer until I see how they approach this offseason. Because if we go into the offseason and we lose, this is hypothetical, I'm not saying that all of this is going to happen, so please don't come at me, because I'm throwing out some hypothetical scenarios here. But say Kentucky goes away, okay, and just in a hypothetical scenario, maybe you keep Beaumont and you lose Oceanside because we've heard issues about them. Okay, so you have, Beaumont, Nashville, Albany, Minnesota, Washington, maybe. Do they stay? Do they go with losing Oceanside and Oregon? If they do, how do you react to that? But ultimately, who do you bring in at that point? And if you're approaching expansion and you're bringing in a bunch of new teams that have not ever done the arena football thing in the past, they don't know what they're in for. I have to question if the league ownership has learned anything at that point, because with Kentucky being the one exception this year in terms of the expansion teams, Oceanside, I don't really think their ownership group was fully prepared to take on what they did, and it's shown. I don't think that ultimately Beaumont knew 100% what they were getting into, even though that they had played in the NAL before. It's just a different ballgame in terms of financial constraints. So I just think you have to be very careful with expansion going forward, because right now you're teetering on that, that point where fans are starting to form their opinions about you as a league. And if it's year 2, year 3, you're going to year 3 and you're making the same mistakes over and over and over again, at what point the fans kind of check out and say, this is Albany and Nashville's league. Nobody else can compete. Half the other teams are folding, or they're not able to pay their players, or whatever it may be. And then on a bigger level, at what point does the league look at themselves and say, our operation costs are too expensive? Our teams are not sustainable. Our teams are folding left, right, and center. They can't finish the seasons. How do we address this to make it cheaper for these teams to operate and make the league sustainable and avoid some of these PR nightmares that we've had over the past couple of years?
I mean,
so I think.
Sorry, I didn't know if you were finishing.
No,
all I was going to say was it's one thing that, I've noticed, I'm sure plenty of other people have noticed too, of like every other league that we talk about and cover on here, maybe elsewhere, they have all announced at least an expansion franchise for next season. There's one league right now that hasn't. So what's going to happen in 2027 with the AF1? We have not heard anything. And it's what we just talked to Mike Salmon about, that you need a long runway. He doesn't want 5 months to get a team going, and we're already in July. There's still plenty of offseason and stuff like that, but there's still plenty of season to go with AF1, and I'm not going to speculate. They could have teams ready and raring to go to be announced for expansion. But for right now, you got to start probably announcing. If stuff is not behind the scenes, you got to figure it out, because if you don't have anyone, there's no way Washington's going to work if they're on an island out there. It's kind of the same thing with Beaumont and things along even Oceanside, if they continue on, or whatever the case could be. Again, all speculation. So again, you're going to put teams across the country on islands when you see some of these other leagues, whether it's the NAL, who's very, very regional, whether you see the AAL, where it's very, very regional. The IFL's been able to go more, national with it, but they have their pockets of regionality that they're able to use. So if you are AF1, you really need to look at what your offseason plan is going to be in terms of expansion, consolidation, and how you want to go about it. To your point, are our finances too high? Cost of operations, the arenas, the nets, everything like that. I know the nets separated away from everything, so that's not going away. But everything else, you have to take into consideration of what are we doing.
I wonder what's the domino effect, right? You look at Nashville, Clarksville, and specifically, Trey, he's from that area, so he kind of knows, he's been to a couple games this season. That's a good IFL market. That's a market I know the IFL would love to have. I know Clarksville, that organization is definitely looking at the IFL, 100%.
I don't know. That's tough to say. Because if at that point, if Nashville's ownership is looking at the IFL, then you have to wonder if Albany is. And if those two teams are, then what's the point of the AF1 continuing? Sorry.
I think an AF1 team, there'll be a team or two that will leave and join the NAL next season. Like Oregon, I think will definitely, if they come back, they'll join the NAL next season, without a doubt. It's that. Yes, they did. That's
no, timeout.
Yeah.
Stockton announced AF1. Yeah. AF1 did not announce Stockton. That's the.
But then why do they have him on the AF1 fan zone that they have? Isn't that like the league sponsored thing? No,
it is not. It is independent.
No, that's Scott's show, and they do some of the halftime stuff, but I'm pretty sure he schedules all his own guests and stuff still. So did want to throw this out there. All AAL teams finished the season. That is true.
It's good to learn. I'm learning about the AAL, so that's a good note. I'm writing that down.
So there was that comment to Luke from State of the Stallions that he commented on one of the Stockton Crusaders posts, and he said, "What league are you joining?" He said, "We're joining AF1, thanks." So maybe they think they're getting in. I don't know. But that's to the extent of where it's like, all right, maybe we've got like a little bit of an obsessive girlfriend of like, we want you, but maybe the league doesn't necessarily want them, or they're trying to, keep them at arm's length. I don't know. But yeah, I don't know. It's kind of weird, because you figured if Stockton was such a good to go from a place like this, you've already got Oceanside, you've got Washington. Why wouldn't you announce it by now? So,
and that's something that has me on edge about Stockton's situation as well.
So I'm gonna play this game real quick. Here are the AF1 teams I could see going to the IFL with the right ownership. So don't think I'm saying like they can leave right now, but I could see going Nashville, Michigan, 100%. I think Michigan is a great market for the IFL. Kentucky with the right ownership. Obviously, they don't have the right ownership in place now. That's why they ran out of money. But I don't think Minnesota is ready for that jump from a professional, standpoint. I don't think they have them with professional coaching staff or, I think Jacob Lambert's a professional. I don't think the guys in the coaching staff are, though. They're not ready for that jump. They're not ready for that big of a league.
Tony O'Neill's going to be hitting you up any minute.
He's ringing your doorbell right now. That's exactly.
Yeah, that's funny. Nah, me and Tony are good. But I'm just real about the programming where it's at. And then let's see. Yeah, those are the 3 teams. And then I heard Arkansas Diamonds. I heard the Arkansas and the TAL, the Arena League, are looking at joining the IFL next year.
Hold on, back up. So those are the only 3 teams that you feel could join the IFL?
I mean, Albany said they wouldn't no matter what, under any circumstance. They've said that multiple times. So it's
I'm not.
I know. I don't
think the thought process. Why don't you think Washington do it?
I don't think they have the resources to.
Resources, I have been told, are not an issue for Washington. Like, not even remotely. So, I mean,
Washington lost their biggest resource in Manny Aguero, who's with Northern Arizona. So,
well, he lived in Arizona, so
that was awesome.
Yeah, don't confuse the on-field shortcomings with the off-field resources there. They got a good thing going in Washington.
Agreed. And honestly, I mean, the reason I pointed them out specifically is if I'm the IFL, I want Washington. I think that from a uniform aspect, they fit the IFL look. They're very professional looking in terms of their uniform combo and stuff like that. And I think that would be a boon for them in terms of, if a Bay Area comes back, you already have San Diego there. There's a couple other teams in that region sort of. So, I mean, I think that would probably be a good addition for the IFL overall for their presence in the Pacific Northwest. So just a thought. But any other thoughts on the AF1 before we move on to the TAL?
Nah, man, I just think I hope the best for the league. We never want to see any league, struggle and have teams fold. I have a lot of guys down in Kentucky, so, I hope my guys are straight with money and they're getting paid what they were promised. But another thing that we need to talk about is the fact that the AF1 lied about Daryl Overstreet signing the CFL. So that's crazy to me. That's a lie. Is that not a lie?
So, yeah, okay. Go ahead, Trey. I'll let you go.
Yeah, I was gonna say I don't think you pin that one on the AF1. I think you pin that on the person who published the article. But to your point, it was published on the league website, so it was a little misleading the way it was announced.
Yeah, exactly. And that's exactly how I would put it. Look, I'll be honest. There's a lot of people who don't even know what the CJFL is. Honestly, I don't even 100% understand the entire structure of it. Basically, it's a developmental league that is provided for players to help try and fast track them to the CFL. But at the same time, that's not the CFL.
But let's have a logic. Let's just for everybody, like a logical check. We hear that Kentucky players aren't getting paid, and then we see that he leaves for an opportunity that's paying him less money than what he was making in Kentucky. So if he hasn't been paid, this means he's trying to get paid. This is my.
It's tough because, like I said, I think I may not have explained this in a great way, but to my understanding, the way the CJFL works is that they are either provided with a job or they're provided with a sponsor that pays them directly, as well as provided with housing and meals and stuff like that. So I may be misspeaking, and if anybody knows anything about the CJFL in the chat, please correct me on anything that may be wrong here. But there is a chance, and I don't want to say it's 100% certainty, but there is a chance that Maybe Overstreet's making more in the CJFL due to like a sponsorship or a job arrangement or something of the sort. So I don't want to speculate on the earnings situation, but maybe he just feels this is his best opportunity to get to the CFL.
And I'll tell you what was going through my mind. So I saw the article, and I look at the CFL transactions every day because that's where most of my tires come from. So I like to get a head start on who's joining our roster. But other teams can't say that, only us. But so I and Vegas, but
I was gonna say,
but he's his own CFL website. So, but what I was saying is it's crazy because I was looking and I didn't see his name on there, and I was like, that's weird. CFL website. If you guys know the CFL website, they update really well, like every day, like at a certain time, every single day. They're never late. I've only seen them late on like holidays, but they're really good at updating. So I didn't see a name and I was really confused. And then I found out he signed with a JV team. But dude, that's like someone saying they signed with the Atlanta Falcons. And it's like we had a player on the show once and he said that he signed with the Seahawks. And I had him on, and he was a player in one of the arena leagues. And we found out it was a Seattle Seahawks semi-pro team, like a team called the Seahawks that played in Seattle that was a semi-pro team. But he was going around telling everyone he signed with the Seattle Seahawks. So I'm really careful, and I do my research, my background.
We'll save this for after the show, but I don't recall right off the top of my head who that is. Corey Parsons, thank you for tuning in, and we appreciate it. Just wanted to let you know, man, we already gave you the AAL picks, so we're not going to rehash that. If you want to go back, it's probably about the 2 hour and 15-minute mark, which tells me that we are very deep into the show at the point, and we need to kind of fast forward to the TAL segment. So with that in mind, we're going to go ahead and just jump right over. We don't need another commercial.
Oh, it's my 1 year anniversary of coming on Trey's program. I went on Turf Tapes a year ago. It came up. I'm the most viewed guest of all time on there, so I can't.
Oh Lord!
Oh, I'm gonna have to fact check him on that.
Yeah, fact check.
He is the most accurate bettor, by the way.
Yes,
but he has no idea what his record is. We won't talk about that.
He doesn't keep track of his picks, but he's the most accurate.
Most accurate.
Oh man, that's hilarious. All right, so let's start off with this. So Fabian Guerra. That last name correctly?
Guerra.
He has opted to retire. He most recently played for the Louisiana team, the Monroe Greenheads, and opted to retire after the most recent game. He was basically, I guess he signed with the team more or less to play in front of his kids, which is always a cool story. Fabian's been playing for many years. I mean, if you've followed indoor football at all, you know exactly who we're talking about here. He's been around on multiple different teams. He played in the UFL as well, played in the CFL for a little bit as well. So he's kind of been all over the place. But the other big piece of the news coming out of the TAL was that there was a moment in which the fans stormed the field in Arkansas, and it has gone fairly viral all over the internet. So I wanted to kind of go around the horn here, get your guys' thoughts on that. I mean, Cody, we recently got to experience the NAL championship game, which definitely nobody stormed the field. But I'm curious, do you think that would have made it better or worse?
Tarps off for the boys.
So yes, storm fields.
So the thing about it would be if it's like a huge upset, and that's the big thing. I don't know enough about the TAL, pardon my ignorance, that I don't know if this is truly an upset with Arkansas winning. So I don't know. But still, the field storming happened. The tarps off for the boys. I like it to that extent. Now, if it was someone like, let's just say, for instance, Albany, one of their losses that they've had recently, if that was a field storming, it's like college football. It's like a proper field storming. I can't knock it. They're trying. If it's made its way here, we've already got tarps off, which is what, baseball teams and football teams like Oklahoma State or like the Cardinals or whatever are doing in Major League Baseball. And we got some field storming. So we got some things, kind of trickling into the indoor and arena game from some major sports and college sports that, hey, if it can translate and it gets more fans and seats, it is actually something that I've thought about for a while when I was in college, where it's like I wanted to get a whole bunch of my fraternity brothers together and go down to a Tulsa game or go up to a Kansas City game or something like that. And you have an entire quote student section of like fraternity bros just drinking beer and yelling on the team. So I can't fault them for it.
Fair point. I mean, obviously, one of the big things that I've always enjoyed about arena and indoor football is that you get to go on the field after the game. Not quite in that manner. I've never seen that per se, but I wanted to get your thoughts, Trey. I know you kind of follow college football as well as a lot of other sports as well. So how did you feel about the storming of the field?
I thought it was cool, and I think that the reason why it was so impactful for that group is because Arkansas, Memphis, this goes beyond just these two teams in particular. Like if you look at the map, Memphis is on the border of Tennessee and Arkansas, so there is like a built-in rivalry between Arkansas and the city of Memphis across all sports. So I think that kind of fed into it. I do think it was cool to see in that moment, but if it happens every time, it's like diminishing returns every time. So it's not something that you can do every single game. But in that moment, it was great. And I think this actually speaks better to why leagues and teams need to post content more and more and more. Is that if you notice, that clip was not posted by the league. That clip was posted by This Week in Arena Ball, defense kid. We all know him, Albany Firebird superfan. He posted that. And it got picked up and it got 1 million views on X. Those 1 million views could have been in the pocket of the Arena League in terms of their socials, and it could have grown their channels, and it could have grown their exposure. It did grow their exposure because it was like, 1 million eyeballs saw it that may not have seen it before, but it could have linked back to them. And I think that's the miss here, where it's a great win to see that go viral, but at the same time, the league itself not being the source of that clip, I think is a swing and a miss.
Yeah, TAL even posted about the impressions that they got from it.
Yeah, and they didn't even get them technically, right? So it's just like teams and leagues as a whole just need to do a lot better with socials, and it's a numbers game. Like you don't need to post every single play, but you got to post something.
I mean, let's be real honest. You have an 8-team league. There's no reason why there shouldn't be at least like one play that has viral-ish ability, on a weekly basis, so that you need to be posting.
I mean, Aaron Dilworth every single week has something where he's going over the wall catching a touchdown pass. Like it's there. You just gotta put the microphone to it.
Exactly. And honestly, I think we've harped on the TAL for this aspect a lot. It's part of their business model. They don't really prioritize social media, and maybe this is one of the examples that they'll see and be like, hey, we might need to lean into this a little bit more, moving forward. And I mean, honestly, to your credit, you just pointed it out. If they had been doing this already, that grows their channels. At that point, are they then seeing a monetary return on, social media platforms for posting? If at that point, it's kind of starting to pay for itself a little bit, which is my thing, is like a lot of these leagues are kind of leaving a lot of income on the table in terms of the social media aspect of things. And I think it's a mistake on some parts, but it's also been viewed negatively in some situations when leagues try to capitalize on their monetization abilities. So, Krish, any thoughts on the field storming?
Yeah, man. So Fabian, I want to start. Yo, sit the fuck down. I'm sorry. Just family member on the side. Whatever. Hey, you know what? Sometimes it's not.
Is Fabian in the room with you right now, or
no?
What the hell?
I need to try to be a good role model here, but I don't talk to my family like that behind the scenes.
What just happened?
Anyway, my bad. So Fabian. So yeah, back to Fabian. So 2023. I was involved with the coaching staff there. Obviously all the years they were in mass, right? But I was coaching intern, and I remember the first time Fabian walked into our meeting room, offensive meetings, and just meeting him, hearing all the stuff about him, the narratives that went around. I mean, and then meeting him in person, he's the complete opposite of what they say he is. He's a really nice guy. I'm really happy for him. He lives in Miami. He's married. He has a son now. He's doing great things for himself. So he's just going to be great. And, I like that he used Monroe as a platform, to be able to play his final game in front of his son. And then with Arkansas, Hot Springs, it's good. But I hope, I don't want that to become a thing. Fans storm the field every game. Because someone will get hurt and it won't be good.
Yeah, I mean, that same weekend, what was the game? Was it Siege, Iowa, where it also happened? But then a little post-game kerfuffle, let's just say, a little brouhaha broke out amongst some of the players on each team, and fans were 2 feet away from punches being thrown by players. So it also creates a fan safety concern in that aspect.
Agreed. And Coach Gregory says there's so many narratives in indoor and arena football that it's kind of derailed the game, and it's not wrong. Everybody's got their own narrative that they believe in or stuff like that. So
in 2023, but knowing you'll X that out and say I did it for all 8 years. I said 2023. So that's what it is.
Can attest to the fact that he has sat in meetings with actually multiple teams, but it's kind of beside the point.
But no, it's all about Fabian, and you see people's character from behind the scenes. Obviously, Lobo will know, right? He's working with Athens next year, so he'll meet guys, and they're down, and he'll get to meet them behind the scenes too. So it'll be good.
Right.
He's working for Athens, bro. Stop trying to hide it. It's everyone knows it. He just hasn't announced it yet, but he'll be with Athens, director of media, coming in 2027.
All right, we'll see, I suppose. On that note, we're about to hit the 3-hour mark, which seems like a perfectly good time to wrap this bad boy up. So I appreciate everybody who tuned in this morning. We had a particularly high viewer count today, considering the fact that some of these leagues are nearing the off season. So we really appreciate you guys all hanging out with us. And I will say that you might definitely want to keep an eye on future episodes, because I'm sure there are going to be some announcements coming with all of these leagues coming up in the very near future. We are nearing the very fun part of the season. To quote my friend Zach Kyleman, it's almost silly season. So it's going to be a good time this year, I'm sure.
That's not a good quote. No, drop that. Silly season. What the fuck is that?
All right. Well, apparently Krish isn't a fan of that, but
Krish is getting derailed here. He's getting.
On that note, we will get you guys next week. Thank you all for joining us.
Yeah, thanks for tuning in, man. Tune in Sunday night, 7:30 on Yahoo Sports. Hey, them boys are ready, man. It's different in the O. Come to the O and get the blow.
Can we go another half hour?
Oh, that's cool.
Damn! Put your glasses back on.
I hope y'all bitches are ready, man.
Yeah, we need to go another half hour. We never gave our TAL or our AF1 picks or anything like that. We just gotta keep going. Keep going.
No.
The entire 24-hour stream, baby.
Yeah, you've seen the Yahoo Live 24-hour stream. Pretty soon, this show is gonna get there. That's for sure. Man, we got a lot of
narratives and a lot of narratives in the indoor game. They don't mention the reporters. They don't mention the commentary. A lot of narratives going around here.
Bro, you in Bay Area? Stop the cap, homie. Oh my God. Yeah, you were in Bay. He won a championship with Bay Area in 2023. Yo, you're raising my fucking blood pressure on July 4th. Come on, man. I'm gonna be like a firework after this episode because of you.
Well, just be careful, all right? And like Cody said, or maybe it was TJ, I don't know. Somebody said earlier, don't blow your hands off, all right? So be very careful. Use the long lighters, when you're lighting your fireworks, and run away fast. Make sure you have all your phalanges on Monday, because it's going to be hard to work your job if you don't. So
I never said that. I said 1 year.
You're falling into the trap, Krish. Don't fall into the trap.
Oh my God. I didn't make it clear. Nah, I'm always fact check people, man. Like,
Oh Lord, here we go.
no matter. I mean, I fact check.
The most accurate.
Yeah, exactly. Fact check Shady every day, off Trey every single day, every day, 7 days a week. You know, I need to fact check people. I would, you know, that's my duty. So.
Are we having fun yet?
On
Here's
that
a
note,
little
we'll catch
fact
you
check.
guys.
Here's a little
What's
fact
that,
check for you, Krish, before we go. Zach Heilman's Turf Tape episode has more views than yours. So
How many? How many more?
2.
He's gonna put it on autoplay.
He's gonna.
Am I the most viewed? Am I one who I have to be? I have to be one of the most viewed.
I don't know. Let's wrap this up, Shady. We're
The
going to
most
be here for
accurate
15 more
view
minutes.
getter, I'll tell you that.
I'm just saying I am the most viewed, and I'm coming on right in July, middle of July. I got the invite.
Yeah, we'll
It's an
talk.
open invitation.
Yeah.
So.
He's like, hurry quick. I got to get another episode in. I need another chance to legitimately take that title.
Yeah.
I will take the title, man. People tune in for me. What the fuck? Like,
Damn. Somebody's offended. Maybe it's because you're not really the most accurate picker in the industry.
I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer. I'm a game changer.